Tuesday, January 3rd. Jocks 94.5. Glad you're with us. Appreciate you tuning in. We got a lot to get to today. Talk some college baseball today. Talk some college football today as another big day for college baseball. SEC bounces back a little bit yesterday. I would say makes some things right compared to how they went down over the weekend. Ole Miss does go down to Murray State yesterday, though. First super regional ever for Murray State. The Racers are in. They will move on.
John Morant.
Now, that's odd when you think about it from this perspective. Murray State is the 9th team from the Missouri Valley to reach a super regional round. UCLA is the 10th Big Ten school to reach the super regional round.
Why are you being a hater?
If my homework is accurate, and it might not be, UCLA is the 10th Big Ten school to advance to the super regionals. Only Indiana in 13 and Michigan in 19 have finished their seasons in Omaha.
I don't know about. I know Indiana did because the following year, the coach of Indiana was hired to become the head coach at Arizona State. But I cannot speak to Michigan. I do feel like Michigan did have a couple years in baseball where they were pretty good. And they have a couple players from Michigan that went on to become MLB great players.
Yeah, that can't be right. But nonetheless, Tennessee makes their 7th super regional. They take out Wake Forest yesterday, 11-5. That's their 5th straight as well. LSU gets it done at home, 10-6 over Little Rock. Little Rock finished the season 27-34. And they were toe-to-toe with LSU for a while last night. LSU's bats came alive late. Couldn't stay up for the end of that game, but they kind of got under control. 17th super regional for LSU. Only who has more?
Miami.
Florida State?
Florida State.
19. How many World Series, though? Got them.
Yeah, they have not won one. 6 straight super regional for LSU. They'll face West Virginia this weekend. LSU has won 24 of 28 home regionals in their
Ain't nobody
existence.
coming to Death Valley at night.
Well, 4 teams have. Miami gets past Southern Miss, 13th super regional for Miami, so you weren't far off there, Greg. But it is their first since 2016, and they'll have an ACC matchup as they'll face Louisville this weekend.
Oh,
so that's some your college baseball news there.
Good job, good job on the pronunciation there. Proud of you.
Yeah, it's good to see the SEC kind of bounce back yesterday. Ole Miss couldn't get it done. Had opportunities late. Had runners on first and second with 1 out. They had an opportunity down 1. And they came back from down. I think that game was like 11-2. So they rallied, got close, couldn't finish it off, couldn't get it done. So we'll talk some college football today as well as college baseball. Kendall Rogers is going to join us at 8:30. Get an update on Florida, what's happening with DJ Lagway, what freshmen we should kind of expect to see maybe on the rise with winter workouts and different things down there in Florida. Gabe Eichert's going to talk Oklahoma at 9:20. One of the reasons I want to talk Florida today, we had dinner last night, and a gentleman comes up. We were finishing up and introduces himself, said he listens to the show. Andrew, yeah. I believe, an architect here in town, and asked me what I thought Auburn's record was going to be.
I might know who this person is.
Always love when folks come up and say, just give me the record.
I know this person.
I don't know if you know him.
I know Andrew, that's an Auburn fan and an architect, so I've checked 3 boxes. Then again, most architects in the community are Auburn graduates. It's a great architecture program and engineering school. I'm trying to think. No, does not wear glasses all the time. But I'm sure he does have them.
So he asked about Auburn, how they're going to be, give kind of a little explanation of what I think is going to happen. He asked for the record. And
10-2.
But I wanted to get your thoughts on this too. He goes, just put a number on it. And I was like,
10.
Yeah, I don't really do that. He's like, oh, come on. Just like, what do you think?
Such a cool answer.
I was like, I don't like to put the number on it, man. Like, I think they're going to be better than last year. Have a chance to be a lot better if they get quarterback right. There's a lot that goes into that. So I don't know. I went with 8-4, but is what it is.
That's about right.
And I said, he goes, really? I said, yeah, it's 3-win improvement over last year. I think that's pretty sporty. And he said, I said, so it's a tough schedule, man. He goes, no, this is a pretty good schedule.
You got Bama and Georgia at home.
I said, it's
We
not.
get both those, we're cooking.
I said, it's not a pretty good schedule. And I wanted to bring this up with you because he was really surprised. And I appreciate him introducing himself, and I appreciate him listening to the show. But he was really surprised that I thought Auburn had a tough schedule.
Huh.
And I was like, maybe I got to ask Greg about this in the morning. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this the way that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a false sense of other teams in the league and what they're going to be. But the way I view it is this. I go down, like, I don't think it's just a lock that Auburn's a better team than Baylor right now. I don't think it's a lock that Auburn's a better team than Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, Alabama, and I think probably Missouri is a toss-up. And then Vanderbilt, I think Auburn might be a better team then, but we know what that's been the last couple of years. So you have to be nervous about that game. And I think Arkansas is another wild card that has guys that can give any team fits any weekend. And beat you last year. I know you gave him the ball a lot, but nonetheless, you couldn't tackle their quarterback, and he's back. So I don't know. Ball State, South Alabama, great. You had games like that last year. You had games like Mercer last year. It didn't turn out to really matter that much. Now, if things go well and the offensive line is what we think it can be, and Jackson Arnold takes a step and the receivers mature a little bit, could Auburn be a better team than Baylor, than Oklahoma, than A&M? Absolutely. Maybe even Georgia and Bama, but that's going to take a lot, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this kind of the Auburn schedule, where it is on the scale of difficulty. And that's kind of what I told him too. I was like, listen, man. I was like, there's not a cakewalk schedule in the SEC. Like, did Ole Miss have a little bit of a lighter run last year? Did Missouri have a little bit of a lighter run?
Still had Georgia and at LSU. Like most years,
tough.
when you're Georgia at home at LSU, it's a dicey proposition. I think the problem with Auburn's schedule is that most people will look at it and think, yep, you know what, not too bad. When in reality, some of the teams that are, quote, not too bad are actually quite good. Like, that's the challenging situation with them. Like, if you tell me this, and let's just go through it game by game, because I think that's the only way to actually go through it. We already know the 2 games between the 2 rivals at home. Does that make it more manageable? Absolutely. But it doesn't mean those 2 teams are more gettable. Just means it makes it more manageable to potentially pull off the upset.
Sure.
I think Alabama and Georgia are 2 of the top 5 teams in the country coming into the season. It doesn't mean that Auburn can't win them. We've seen them win those games before. But right now, if you told me to pick gun to head, I'm taking Georgia and I'm taking Alabama to win those games. So we'll start there. All right. What would you say about, we've already kind of documented the Baylor game. Nobody has any idea that Baylor's any good. Like, no. Nobody. That's part of the problem. But Baylor has arguably the top returning quarterback in the Big 12. They also have arguably the top returning running back in the Big 12. And they have one of the best defensive minds in college football that's now had an entire offseason continuing to sit on the hot seat to find a way to slow down your offense. And by the way, has played well before. Dave Aranda, go look at his career record against Auburn. It ain't bad. All right? He knows what he's doing. So that'll be a challenging game, and one that they could absolutely lose on the road first week of the year against a team that's probably going to win 8 or 9 games. I mean,
they're going to be a solid football team.
But nobody knows that.
That's fine. And it's also week 1, which it sometimes doesn't matter how good or bad you end up being. That can be a tricky game.
But the other
quarterback around some new people that in a new uniform, and you're banking on some other new faces in different places, probably 2 new tackles. That can, you're on the road with 2 new tackles and a new quarterback. You don't think that cadence can potentially be a problem?
I think it could be, but here's the other problem. Even if Auburn wins that game, no one's going to think it matters.
That's the bad part about it.
You get no benefit.
They're not going to get a lot of credit for winning that game.
No.
And they probably should. If they do.
They should. They go on the road, get that win. That's a great win to start the season.
Game, standalone game, big window, a lot of people tuning in. It's a big win if you can get it.
Fantastic win to start the season. Like, as good a win as there will be in week 1, not named Clemson, Ohio State. I'm talking 4 SEC teams. LSU is at Clemson. Texas is at Ohio State. Alabama's at Florida State. I'm sure there's a couple others that I'm blanking on the top of my head. But to me, the best wins in the SEC in week 1 will be either at Ohio State, at Clemson, and then probably third is at Baylor. Because I think Baylor's better than Florida State. Fair?
Yes. If you asked me right now who I would rather play, Baylor or Florida State, it'd be Florida State.
100% I'd rather play Florida State. So I think that's a tough game. Then you look at the 2 gettables. Let's not even waste our time with those. If you lose to those teams, we got problems. All right.
Ball State, South Alabama.
Yeah, no disrespect, but those games should be handled rather easily by the Auburn Tigers. Moving on to some of the meatier conference schedule. At Oklahoma, right now I'm taking Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got a better roster than Auburn. I think they have a better defense. I think they have better playmakers in some spots. Not in all spots, in some spots. But I would take Oklahoma's running back over Auburn's. I would take Oklahoma's quarterback over Auburn's by a wide margin. And I would take Oklahoma's top wide receiver and put him on par with Eric Singleton.
Lots of push.
And on par is pretty
Eric
good.
Singleton is a push.
Yeah, push. And both excellent players, by the way. But what about Cam Coleman? I agree with that. I think Cam Coleman is better than Oklahoma's probable number 2. But the top guy is a push.
Over Arnold right now because of the struggles last year. Mateer didn't have any.
It's not even close.
So,
it's not close. You can't even, and it's at Oklahoma. What's the Rubik's Cubelic say? All right,
you get a point for that.
Here's, I think, one of the biggest defining games on the entire schedule is at Texas A&M. Like, this is the make or break game to me. It's the most important game on the schedule for Auburn. I can live. You beat Baylor, awesome. Week 1 winner. That's one of top 3-4 win in the SEC in week 1. Awesome. You get Ball State, you get South Alabama, and they're 3-0. You go on the road to an Oklahoma team that thinks a top 15 team. You lose that one. Not the end of the world, right? Not the end of the world. It happens. It's on the road. It's tough. Then you have to go on the road again to A&M. The week before you have to go play Georgia at home. You get A&M on the road, who I also think is a top 20, top 25 team. Now you're cooking with gas because you're 4-1 with Georgia coming to your place. And then you have things kind of lighten up as far as your road schedule is concerned down, beyond that. But I think A&M's the make or break. If you're 4-1 going into the Georgia game, feel great about where you're at.
I would agree with all that. It's just interesting. I'm interested to see what the listeners think about Auburn's team, Auburn's schedule right now. ESPN's new FPI is out, so we'll kind of compare it there, look at strength of schedule, look at some different things around a couple of SEC teams. You just mentioned one thing about Oklahoma, and as you were mentioning their defensive line, I just happened to scroll across a tweet that has the top 10 defensive lines in college football ranked as of today. Now, we did this just in the SEC last week. I felt pretty good about my rankings. This entity goes Clemson 1, Alabama 2. This is nationally now. Texas Tech 3, Penn State 4, Michigan 5, Georgia 6, Michigan 6, sorry, Georgia 7, Miami 8, Oklahoma 9. Texas 10.
Are we counting the edge defenders for Texas?
I would imagine it's part of your defensive line because they do mention Colin Simmons in the description as of how and why they are where they are, as also Trey Moore mentioned.
Sounds like a good.
Give you an idea who it was. One guess. Yeah.
That might be the worst ranking I've ever heard.
I actually feel so much better about having Oklahoma as the best D-line in the SEC now, that they have them 9th nationally.
That might be the worst I've ever heard.
Vilified. Now, for Texas, they're 10th because they added Cole Brevard, but he had a 75 grade last year.
Yeah, that's big.
We don't know what it's out of.
I really like Miami's.
What it means, but
I really like Miami's defensive line. What were they last year against the run? 84th? Whatever.
Yeah, but Akeem Messidor had an 86.1 PFF grade last year, Greg.
That's right. I've really liked Michigan's.
Ahmad Moten had a 78 pass rush grade last year, guys.
I mean, I really like Michigan's, but they're going to be a little different inside.
Just a smidge.
I really like the edges. So that's a good starting point.
Absolutely.
No Tennessee.
Derek Moore's going to be great. Tennessee not on the list. No. Florida at 4 though, so at least somebody else is open to that. Because a lot of people told us we were crazy for having Florida as one of the better D-lines in the SEC.
We can't cherry pick and like some of their rankings and not like their others. I like Florida at 4, but the rest of them are terrible.
Well, just the fact that somebody else, because that's one of the reasons I want to have David Waters on today too.
Hang on a second. Hang on. We just glossed over the fact that Alabama's at 2.
2.
Look, I love my alma mater and I love my defensive front 7. I think the defense has a chance to be really good this year. I think they're a top 6-7 defense in the country in the preseason. I really like them. There's no way on God's green earth you can rank that defensive line number 2 in the country going into this season.
But Greg, Overton ended his junior year as one of the 15 most valuable edge defenders in America, according to PFF.
I think he's a
wins above average metric.
He's a really good player. I really like him.
Yeah,
I think he's a
wins
bell
above
cow.
average metric is apparently top 15 in the country.
I think he's a bell cow. I think Keenan's good. I think Smith is good. And I also think Quay Russo is going to have a really nice year. Like I'm banking on upside, but like going into the season, I cannot put them at number 2. Not ahead of Texas, not ahead of Georgia, frankly. Not ahead of
I wouldn't put him ahead of Florida.
Well, as far as like game wreckers, no, you can't. You can't put like Caleb Banks a game wrecker. I don't know if I'd put him ahead of Miami.
LT Overton, I don't know who wrote this article. I'll go look. He's my number 6 edge rusher in college football.
He's like a heavy.
He's a really good football player, but that's not the.
He's an excellent football player, but he's not an edge rusher. He's like an old school, like 4-3 defensive end.
Max Chadwick.
He's like a 5 technique.
He's a Courtney Upshaw type guy. A little heavier.
He's a little heavier and wider.
Yeah, but that's as far as style of play. Like Courtney Upshaw wasn't winning with quickness and get off.
No, he's winning because he had the biggest head on planet Earth. And literally, if you tried to bang like foreheads, you're dead. Literally dead.
Well, Keenan had a 90.1 run defense grade last year, so you can't argue with that.
These are the same. He is good. I like Keenan a lot.
Really good football player.
This is the same group that thinks the cat from Oregon was like the best edge rusher to ever put on pads because he was 6'6", 260
and played like it. So. I don't know.
Honestly,
I came across this exactly while you were talking about
it. I want to know from Alabama fans' perspective. Like, do you think they have the number 2 rated defensive line in the country?
I'll tell you this. I will take your Alabama 2nd ranked defensive line in college football going into the season per PFF, and I will raise you one that we'll discuss next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Let's look at more rankings.
Yes.
Tuesday, January 3rd, 7:22 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. We talked Auburn's schedule. We talked top defensive lines in the country, allegedly, in our previous segment.
You are in such a hole today. I love it.
JocksFM.com is where you can listen. You can also check us out down in Montgomery or up in North Alabama if you're rolling through, and watch us live on YouTube every day. It's easy. All right, so before we get to the next PFF ranking that I want to discuss with you, I got to tell you about Gusty Gouls and the Gusty Gouls Group. If you're looking to get into a new house, call 205-542-1996 today. Google Gusty Gouls Group or go to GustyGoulsGroup.com today, or just Google them and you'll see over 855-star Google reviews. Brokered by eXp Realty. Serve more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham, Alabama, or greater Birmingham area. Most agents, they're going to start marketing after you list with them, not Gusty. He's been doing that. Thousands of dollars in the latest tools like social media, photographers, and more. Google Gusty Gouls Group, see for yourself, or call 205-542-1996 today. Would you like to hear your top 10 offensive lines entering the 2025 season per PFF?
Stop it.
And Max Chadwick?
Don't.
Max
is probably such a nice guy.
Let's start at 10 and go up. Clemson at 10, Notre Dame at 9.
Jesus. Notre Dame's top 3.
I would have Notre Dame in the discussion for 1. Not going to just stamp it.
Dude, they're going to be so good on the O-line.
Definitely 1, but they are.
What about the guy Jagasaw? What about the guy Jagasaw who
the killer,
who literally played 2 games last year at left tackle, plug and play, got hurt in the preseason, came back and was an absolute monster
at guard, which he did not play before, by the way.
How's that going to be for him this year?
It probably will help.
Think they'll be all right?
How
about the 3 starters that left last year to go start elsewhere that because they couldn't get their starting spot guaranteed? Is that going to be helpful?
I think it'll probably be pretty good.
Yeah. I think they're going to be all right.
All right. Number 8, Miami.
Really good offensive line.
Number 7, Auburn.
So hopefully a good offensive line.
Chance to be good. Number 6, Iowa. Number 5, Oregon.
And what about their offensive line do we feel good about?
I will tell you this. I watched the Isaiah World kid from Nevada.
You love that
transfer,
kid,
and
the
he's
transfer.
A really good player.
Yeah, you love that kid.
He's exciting.
He looks the part.
He's dynamic. I think he can get it done.
Can he run screens?
Don't know. Number 4, Florida. Chance to be really good. Hell, I had him 5th in the SEC. Florida fans didn't like that. A&M 3. I'm good with that.
I like A&M.
And they have depth, which is the big key for A&M, like real depth. I got to go watch some more Utah because they got Utah at 2, and I've seen a lot of people talking about Utah and some like Spencer Fano and draft, whatever. I just got to spend some more time on Utah.
Well, you need to spend some dang time on them because I mean, what the heck are we doing? It's freaking June. How have you not watched Utah O-line right now?
Well, Spencer Fano had a 92.7 overall grade, all right, and a 93.6 run block grade, so that's what I did.
I love when Cole's like, I really got to go spend some more time on Utah. I just a lot of people are starting to get on him, and I haven't watched them. I'm like, yeah, of course you haven't freaking watched them. You spend 95% of your time in the SEC. Why would you watch Utah before June 3rd?
UFL tape. And per PFF, their number 1 position unit ranking for offensive line.
It's not going to be who I think
heading
it is.
into the 2025 season is.
It can't be.
Your Alabama Crimson Tide.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Texas. I was about to have a panic attack.
This is not the way that I would have started this article, by the way. 1, Alabama. For the 2nd straight year, the Crimson Tide have the top offensive line in our ranking. How did that go last year? The only school in the country to feature 3 offensive linemen that made the top 10 in my positional rankings: Caden Proctor, Parker Brailsford, and Jaden Roberts. Which that in and of itself is a little bit problematic because Proctor didn't go through spring. Brailsford's great. And Jaden Roberts has been dinged up. So if you're banking that all off last year's numbers, I don't know if that just automatically gives you that much confidence. Now, Max does have Proctor's as number 3 tackle in college football, which I think PFF had him as number 1 overall pick. Did they not? So that doesn't make sense. So
I think they have a really good offensive line. I think they have a chance to have a really good offensive
Wait a
line.
minute. Hold on. Stop.
Yes.
I'm awake right now, right? Like this is real? This is real life?
It's a dream.
I mean, if I'm sleeping, tell me. Like,
Dream world.
snap me out of it.
You're awake. You're alive.
Pour water on me. Pinch me something.
You're good. I'll throw something at you.
Proctor's my number 3 offensive tackle in college football. He put on elite tape against elite competition across 3 career games against Georgia, South Carolina. Former 5-star recruit has a 90.4 pass block grade with only.
He did play well against South Carolina.
With only 1 pressure allowed on 96 pass block snaps in 3 games against Georgia and South Carolina. I would have to go back and watch again, but 1 pressure in those 3 games?
He did play very well against South Carolina. I cannot remember the Georgia tape. God's honest truth. I feel like by the time, the Georgia tape was a weird one.
It's the SEC championship game. How many times did Alabama really drop back in that game?
Not many.
4?
Not many. He did play well last year against South Carolina. I just don't remember the Georgia tape. I need to go back and watch it.
He has Brailsford as the 2nd most valuable returning power force center.
I love Brailsford.
Since 2023, according to PFF's wins above average metric.
War. I love Brailsford. So you won't find any pushback on me. You want to put him with the number 1 center? I'm fine with that. I got no problem with that.
Also, my conversation with some people who may play offensive line at a school like 45 minutes west of us, pound for pound, one of the strongest kids on the team.
Brailsford?
Will blow your mind. Impressive weight room strong.
I love the guy.
He's awesome.
He's like Vallejos.
He's fantastic. I would not have put him as like neck and neck with some of the strongest kids on the team. I don't.
He's got twitch though. Like he's like a twitchy. There's not a lot of twitchy linemen. He is one of them.
His quickness is next level.
Yeah, he's awesome. So we're good there. I am still losing sleep currently over how you replace not just how talented he was, but the type of leader he was. I am
the human that he
extremely concerned about being able to replace one of the best guards in recent history at Alabama. Like Tyler Booker was a man-child and was one of the guys that did it the right way last year. There weren't many. So like, I'm just concerned overall about the accountability that room had as a result of his presence. And now knowing that he is no longer there, are some of the guys that might, stray a little bit. Are they going to be able to toe the line? That's a concern.
And it should be. And it's going to be interesting to watch.
I'll tell you this, though. If I had to rank the offensive lines in the SEC, Alabama would absolutely be top 5. I just don't know if I would have them at number 1. I think A&M, A&M, the one I probably feel best about. Florida's close.
Florida's in the mix. Auburn has a chance to be in the mix.
I think Auburn's got a chance to be quite good.
And here's the thing. Here's the tricky part with Georgia. Because it was so plug and play last year, you have to look at bits and pieces of the guys that are going to be the regular contributors this year. Now, they have a tough replacement at center. I get that. But Bobo's played some. He's played in tough spots.
I'm not worried about
competition.
Him. He's not a concern for me. My concerns is when Ratledge went out last year, and frankly, their tackles were a problem all year. Left tackle, especially to the point in which he was replaced. Like I'm not sold.
Yeah, and it's fair.
They got to commit to the run too. I think them committing to the run will be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I'll give Ernest Green a little bit of a waiver, a little bit of a pass.
I know he's banged up.
2 years ago, he was really good.
I understand that, and he had a shoulder issue and all that stuff.
If they're going to be really good, he's got to come around. I think the Micah Morris kid can be really good at guard. I think Monroe Freeling has a chance to be good at tackle. He had some good reps there last year.
Yeah, he started a handful of games. Yeah. They were very comfortable plugging him in last year.
They're in that mix.
There's one more that we're missing, though. Who was 4?
Texas.
No, Texas lost both tackles in their guard.
They have a chance to be good.
Or in their center. I mean, they're going to have talent. It's still Texas. Who else are we missing?
Florida, we said.
We already said Florida.
Georgia, we said.
Yes, got him. Got Alabama, got Auburn, got A&M.
You could go. Some people are going to tell you Tennessee. I'm not there.
Nah.
I think Missouri's group has a chance to be pretty good. LSU would be one that some people want to talk about.
Their tackles are gone. What is it about their offensive line from last year that you feel good about?
Can't.
Like, you lose Dellinger and 2 tackles.
Those were the only SEC teams on their top 10 list. So you're out of teams.
Oh, I was probably thinking Miami.
Yeah, Kentucky, Mississippi
How do
State.
they have Miami so far down?
South Carolina, no.
How do they have Miami so far down?
I will say this. Collectively as a group, individually, they had guys that were really good at times.
Yes.
There were some real letdowns as a group at times. Some things that should have just easily been handled that were not. It got a little sloppy sometimes. That would be my only knock against the Miami group, but I do think 9 is low.
They're
also,
good.
I think
they're
Alabama
good.
at 1 is high. So I wonder if maybe high when ranked, not Alabama, but the ranker potentially. Should we just keep going through these running backs, receiving cores?
They have all the rankings?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
What do you want? Which one do you want next? I'll do it after the break.
Let's do running backs.
Okay. We will
Is it
do
full groups or just single individuals?
No, I think it's groups.
All right.
Running back units. Yeah. You will agree with number 2 on this list. I don't know if you'll agree with number 1, but it's not a bad choice. We'll discuss it right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk position rankings. PFF has theirs out for almost every position, and we've been scrolling through those. Greg asked for running backs next, and we will have that discussion here in a moment. First, I'll tell you about Train. You know the weather can be unpredictable this time of year. That's why you need that reliability of a Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand right now. Can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort systems. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. Do you have a team that you would guess
Top
would be
running
number
backs?
one, or you would have number one?
Top running backs.
Correct.
I would imagine that they have Penn State at number one.
Penn State is number one for PFF. Number two?
Notre Dame.
Yes. Number three?
I would say.
I believe you had them one, possibly.
No, I didn't do rooms. I did individuals.
Have a guy you were high on. I do know that.
Texas?
Texas at 3.
Yeah.
Louisville 4. A&M 5.
Huh.
Oregon 6. Oklahoma 7. Jaden Ott's a nice ad. Georgia 8. Minnesota 9. And here we go, folks. Baylor 10.
There you go. Not a bad list.
Nope.
Not a bad list at all, actually.
How many people are talking about Bryson Washington right now?
Nobody.
Over 1,000 yards rushing last
He
year.
can go. He can absolutely go.
How about Dawson Pendergrass had an 80.5 rushing grade?
The one I might disagree with on that list might be Oklahoma, and I like Jaden Ott a lot. But the depth behind him would be concerning. If we're talking about collectively the rooms, like top to bottom, I don't know if I can have them. What did you say, 7?
Oklahoma, no. 6, 7.
7.
Yeah.
That seems high. Does it not?
A little bit for me. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like some other teams that have really deep running back rooms where there's a bunch of guys that could be contributing. And I like Ott a lot.
Big fan. He's not super dynamic. He's more of a grinder. I mean, he can get you a breakaway run here and there, but I love his demeanor, and I think he's a great back. So I think it's a good ad.
No question.
But Javonte Barnes was solid last year. Taylor Tatum, they're high on. They think can be good. But if you're just going proven commodities that we know, I think they're going to have a good room. Just don't know if they're going to have. I mean, hell, a lot of their rush yards are going to come from quarterback too. I mean, so that's going to be a big part of it.
Lots of them, yeah.
But Dawson Pendergrass, I want to go back to this for Baylor. 80.5 rushing grade as a running back. How does that work?
Not 100% sure.
How much of that grade is holding on to the ball to be able to rush?
I think
I don't know.
that does matter.
Asking.
Yeah, that does matter. I do like Georgia's room a little bit more than I think some people might. I think people are concerned about Nate Frazier's ability to protect and ability to hold on to the football. That dude's got real juice.
Can be a big time back. Josh McCray back. Cash Jones can be a help out of the backfield.
I like Cash Jones a lot. I think Cash Jones is a really good back. Like they got some depth. You know what I mean? Like they have depth.
Yes.
So that makes me feel a lot better.
And you have a true freshman named Bo Walker, who's got the names of the 2 best ever. So it's got to be good.
Has to be.
Has to be.
Anyone else that would come to mind? Like I'm trying to think in the ACC, like kind of racking my brain. Like Miami's got a bunch of turnover. Clemson's going young. Virginia Tech lost their guy. I'm trying to think of like someone else in the ACC that would have some backs, some depth there that might be able to challenge.
Miami's going to be okay, but not.
I mean,
not
Georgia
close
Tech.
to what they were
Georgia
last
Tech's
year.
got a guy that can go.
He can go,
but it's just one.
SMU lost their leading rusher.
Yeah, Brashard Smith's gone.
Virginia Tech lost their leading rusher.
Yep.
Florida State's room is not in that category.
Not there.
So, yeah, no, not there.
No, I'm trying. The Big Ten, Ohio State lost both. I do think the ad from West Virginia's got a good backfield. CJ Donaldson's gone, but I do think that they got a good group.
Should Rutgers be in that conversation?
I mean, they lost Monungai, no?
Yes, but you had C.J. Campbell from Florida State and FAU. Antoine Raymond back. It's just one that I threw out. Saw him.
Yeah.
Not going to put in that top 10, but in the discussion maybe, potentially.
What about Michigan?
probably could be in that discussion.
I'm not like the biggest Justice Haynes fan. I think he's a good back. I think he's a good, solid back. I don't think he's outrageous. I think he's a good, solid back.
Iowa lost their top 2 rushers. There's not a ton of rushing production back for a lot of schools. So I don't know if there's anybody else, when you go to the Big 12, other schools, obviously Arizona State.
Can't believe LSU's not listed.
LSU was actually their honorable mention team.
Really?
Caden Durham. And then went with a little Harlem Berry discussion, JT Lindsay. So they're leaning on recruits.
Yes, they're banking on youth.
Y'all can do that.
I struggle
not
with
going to live in that neighborhood.
I'm more of a see it to believe it guy.
Yeah, it's kind of the way we live, but hey.
I know. It's old school. I get it.
It's a different thought.
I think that's helpful.
But it is interesting. Jeffrey Burton tweets into the show at Mac and Cube. You can always be a part of the show there. Bama D-line 2 is pretty off, but not as off as them putting Auburn's wide receivers where they did. Where did they put Auburn's wide receivers? We'll get to that discussion. First, I'll give you some added value here on Jocks. Introduce you to our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad, the co-host of the Retire with Freedom radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville, also designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama, multiple years running. Tad, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Cole. Today I want to talk about something that's usually on everyone's mind, and that is taxes. How do we reduce our tax burden as much as we possibly can? And one of the things that many of you probably don't know is that taxes are actually on sale right now. When the current laws sunset, taxes are going to go up. So if you've got a lot of tax-deferred money, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, when that money comes out, it's going to get taxed at your highest marginal tax rate. If you've never had anyone analyze if you can get that money into tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, we cover how to do that in detail in our retirement course that we teach at our office on Valleydale Road. If you'd like to sign up for the next course, text JOX, J-O-X, to 205-988-0006, 988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
It's
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We'll move on to a different position now that PFF has ranked heading into the season. Next hour, Dave Waters talks Florida. Kendall Rogers talks College World Series. Gabe Eicher talking Oklahoma in the final hour of the show today. Keep it locked right here on Jocks 94.5. Watch live on YouTube each and every morning. Before we move on to that position group, Greg, if people are looking to move out of their home into a new home, who should they call?
That'd be Crocker Moving Services. They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring moves you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. You can trust them in your home. Whether your whole home packed up and move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today. For a free quote, the website's CrockerMovingServices.com. That's CrockerMovingServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
Jeffrey Burton tweeted in, Bama D-line 2, pretty off, but not as off as in putting Auburn wide receivers at 2. So we're going to talk wide receiver rankings. And this is something, again, kind of like what we talked about with Baylor. There are a lot of people that listen to our show and a lot of people that pay attention to some college football that have never seen Eric Singleton play football. And that's going to be a problem for you when you see Auburn's receivers ranked high, because you're going to say, who's this guy? And you probably should have seen him take a couple snaps. Louis DeArmond tweets in, at Mac and Cube, thought Tad may have some comments on OLDL running back rankings. He went straight into taxes. Yeah, Tad don't play, man. Tad knows what he's doing, Lewis. He stays in his lane. He's not trying to get out there and talk about things that we can talk about. He talks about things we don't know about, like taxes and early retirement. Get in there. You know what he does. All right, PFF has Ohio State ranked number 1. I don't even care who else they have. They have Jeremiah Smith, so I'm good with it.
Not going to push back. Yeah, no problems with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
They're very, very good.
They do get Max Clare in from Purdue. How does Purdue have so many people transferring to big schools the last, 3 years?
I don't know.
Win a game?
Max Clare is a good tight end, though. It's solid. I think will be a nice, solid ad for them. One of the better tight ends in the portal.
They did lose some real prowess, though. I mean, Carnell Tate is the school's all-time leading receiver.
Yeah.
So
he was a really good player.
You lost a couple good ones. We'll see if that plays out. They have
losing Igbuka, losing Carnell Tate. I mean, but you got Brandon Ennis, who's solid. Yep. You, of course, have Jeremiah Smith. They're going to be just fine.
Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, all highly ranked coming out. We'll see. Auburn 2. The description is as follows. Tigers only team with 2 of my top 10 wideouts in college football. Georgia Tech transfer Eric Singleton placed 5th on that list and has track speed.
I think I'm totally fine with Eric Singleton.
Good football player is what I care about.
I'm totally fine with Eric Singleton. I think he's the man. I think he's great. I am not as sold on Cam Coleman being the top guy in the
6th
sport.
On that list.
That's the only issue that I have.
6th in the nation?
I mean, it's just it was nice down the stretch, but
you can't have him at 6th in the nation.
I mean, 6th best receiver, man, that's up there. I mean, that is high. So if you're going based on collectively, I think they have a chance to have a top tier group, but Singleton, we're good. Cam Coleman, there needs to be a little more done throughout the course of the season as opposed to backfilling and stockpiling catches in the last 3 or 4 games of the year.
I love playing the game of guys ranked below who you would take, and there's one that's going to make you really mad. Bryant Wesco was 7th on that list.
I like Wesco, but
8th on that list, Kevin Concepcion.
I mean, if we're going just flat out football players, there's no way Casey Concepcion is 7th.
Makai Lemon 9, Eugene Wilson, Florida 10. Honorable mention Malachi Fields, Notre Dame. So maybe part of this too is that it's not as deep a receiver group as it's been in college football the last couple of years, or there's a bunch of young dudes that are about to go off because they're super talented and they just need their chance, and now they're going to get it. He has Clemson 3rd, Ole Miss 4th. That's higher than I would have anticipated.
Trying to think of
SEC, maybe we could have that conversation. 4th in the nation. They have Alabama 5, Greg. I'm not putting Ole Miss ahead of Alabama right now.
I think Ole Miss has one really, really good one, plays exclusively in the slot, But other than that, I think there's a few more question marks given what was lost off last year's team.
Yeah, and that's Caden Lee.
Caden Lee's great.
They're counting. It should be called pass catchers because they're counting tight ends here. They reference Luke Haas transferring in, who I love. Daquan Wright looked great last year.
Yes, I like their 1-2 punch at tight end a lot.
But Caden Lee in the slot, who you're referencing, you bring in Harrison Wallace, transfer from Penn State, so that helps. But you're also leaning on Dejon Stribling from Oklahoma State. Like, these guys haven't played there. They're not going to be above Alabama. I'm not sure I'd put them ahead of Georgia. LSU's got to be in the mix there. You put them ahead of Texas?
Probably not. I'm not sure you can do that. I'm trying to think of like some of the other collective groups that I would feel great about.
Texas A&M at 9, Notre Dame at 10, Penn State honorable mention.
I mean, I can't put Notre Dame at 9.
It's a young group last year. Has a chance.
Like, Greathouse had a couple good games. Like, I like the additions that they've made in the portal. They got 2 guys coming in, Malachi Fields being one of them. Kind of that big body receiver that's going to be helpful for a new quarterback.
Greathouse back, Faison back.
Yeah, Greathouse is back. Faison's a good slot player. But I don't know. I mean,
so here's the practice we have here because Jeffrey has an issue with Auburn being at 2. I'll ask you the easy question.
He thinks that's way too high.
Correct. Who are you putting above them?
I think Auburn's got a really good group collectively. I
think you can make an argument for Clemson. I think you can make an argument for Bama. You can make an argument for Georgia, but I don't think any of those are definitively just ahead.
I would put Clemson ahead. I think Clemson's got 4 guys that can go. I mean, that's a pretty good spot to be in, including Wesco. I think TJ Moore's better than Wesco.
Yeah, only Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams were true freshmen with more receiving yards than Wesco last year.
Yeah, but I still like TJ Moore better. Like, TJ Moore's a little bigger. He's got a little bit better body control. Like, Wesco's deep threat, which is a great skill to have.
Yeah, Wesco's 707, Moore 650. So not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I like TJ Moore a lot. He's big, physical. He reminds me a lot of T. Higgins. I mean, he's just solid.
And Antonio Williams is really good.
And I think Antonio Williams is the best pound-for-pound football player. So, I mean, if you want to include, like, I would take, if you told me right now I can pick one of those 3, and let's not forget Tyler Brown, who's a deep threat of the slot. He's been banged up a little bit from time to time. And I do think they'll miss their tight end. Like, I think that he was big and offered some stability, especially in the red zone, and they gave him some looks down there. But they have 4 guys that can flat out play. I mean, like, real guys. Now, Tyler Brown at one point, because of injury, was their number 1 wide receiver. Wesco's their most talented. TJ Moore is their biggest and most physically gifted. And then you have Antonio Williams, who's their best player.
I want to hit quarterback rooms quickly because we don't have much time to spend on it before we go to break, and then we'll get to Dave Waters talk the Florida quarterback room on the other side. One is LSU, which you love Nussmeier, so shouldn't be an issue for you. I thought Michael Van Buren being able to get him as a kid who could easily be starting at a lot of Power 5 schools.
Yes.
Was a great get.
Great get.
SMU comes in at 2.
Who's their backup?
This is hilarious. I didn't know this either.
Oh, I know this. Tyler Van Dyke.
Yes.
Yeah. No, not 2.
Super duper senior.
Mega senior.
You'll love this one. Arizona State at 3.
Love it.
You know who their backup is?
No, don't care.
Well,
their starter's a
yes,
dude.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You should care.
Jaden Rashada.
Better. Jeff Sims.
Stop.
He's Arizona State's backup quarterback.
I love that.
He has Florida at 4. Louisville transfer Harrison Bailey's a backup. We'll talk to Dave Waters about that in just a moment. Clemson comes in at 5.
Yeah,
5?
I mean, it's a little low.
Miami comes in at 6. Emory Williams still the backup. Been there for a minute.
Yeah.
Penn State comes in at 7. Auburn at 8. I mean, if you're just going reps, snaps played in good college football games, I guess. Alabama 9, Ohio State 10, Texas honorable mention. So there's your top 10 quarterback.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
A lot of guessing though in the back half.
No guessing about who's next. It's Dave Waters to talk Florida Gators right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, we've talked Florida Gators, some of the positional rankings with us and other people have for them. We'll continue talking Florida. Dave Waters set to join us on the Higginbotham Hotline here in just a moment. Hour number 2 is now underway on Jocks 94.5, 8 a.m. Tuesday, June the 3rd. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill. You can always listen to the show that way.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. They have five straight national championships, and it's deals like this that keep people coming back, like a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT 4x4 loaded with leather, $66,340 is the list price. You can get it for $14,000 off the sticker. You can get it for just over $52,000. It's deals like that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers. It's because they're the GMC Dealer of the Year. They also sell more vehicles than the entire Southeast than anyone that sells GMCs. Probably going to win another Dealer of the Year award coming up this year to make it 6 in a row. They are professional grade, and they're the very best. They also have that used car super center where you can go and get a car for whatever budget your budget may be. So take the short drive to Coleman, I-65 exit 310, Highway 31, or you can shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, let's go to Dave Waters joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline to talk some Florida Gators and mainly Florida Gator football. First, give us the update with Lagway. We know there were people that had questions through spring and the shoulder and the whole deal. What is the latest that you have, latest you've heard?
Yeah, Colt, that's actually, we'll go to spring meetings last week. Billy Napier talking to media and said Lagway about 210 throws a week. That was the exact number he threw out there. Throwing 3 days a week and said that's about normal for this time of year. That's what he's been doing since he's been on campus, last year. That's the normal workload for this time of year. So, he told us back when spring ended, June would be when he would start ramping it up. So there it is. I mean, that's the latest updates, everything I'm hearing too. And maybe it was still overblown a bit in the spring with some of the reports that were coming out about Lagway and possibly needing surgery or anything of the like. But everything A-OK, according to Billy Napier last week at spring meetings. So full steam ahead for expectations for Lagway and this Gator team, knowing that if truth be told that what he's doing now is 100% what he should be asked to do, then full steam ahead.
When you look at a shoulder injury, you're always a little concerned about it, naturally, and I think it's good that he's on a pitch count for the time being. But when you evaluate the lost reps in the spring, especially how that can impact a young player, does that kind of leave anyone with some concerns about the possible growth that's expected?
Great. I think it can, because Florida lost Elijah Badger and Chimere Dike at receiver. So you have Trey Wilson coming back. You go get J. Michael Sturdivant from UCLA, and then those freshmen that Florida's going to be really counting on with Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown III. You would have loved to go through spring, because all those guys were on campus in spring. So you would have loved to go through spring practice and Lagway get a rapport with those receivers. So I think, to me, that's the biggest thing. When you lose your two biggest playmakers at the receiver position last year with DK and Badger, then you like to have Lagway out there throwing to the receivers he's going to be throwing to this fall. So to me, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, certainly still also a young quarterback. You'd love for him to be getting all the reps out there. Of course, mental reps only go so far, and the fake throws that he was doing all spring practice. So I think that's the two things. Him being young and getting that rapport with a receiver group that's going to look good or look new. There's some good players there. There's a lot of potential there. But I think the full potential, you would have loved to have Lagway start early and then locking that full potential with that receiver group.
We're visiting with Dave Waters, talking Florida Gator football on the Higginbotham Hotline. Staying on offense specifically, are there guys making noise, newcomers, portal, freshmen, that maybe you are a little more confident will have a bigger impact on the team this fall than you had, say, in the beginning of spring football?
I think the obvious one, Cole, is Dallas Wilson. I mean, seeing what he did in the spring game, and that can get you in trouble. We all know there's spring game heroes every year that you never see much of throughout their career or that following season. Florida's hoping to hit that 2 years in a row. You go back a year ago, and Jaden Ball was a freshman running back that turned some heads. And, okay, would that translate into the season? Well, it did. Now that's Dallas Wilson, of course. Harrison Bailey was his quarterback in the spring game, but he goes on and catches 10 balls and some scores there in that game, and showed his catch and run potential, showed his physicality potential as a true freshman. I think that's the obvious place to go there is Dallas Wilson, because I mentioned what Florida's missing at receiver, and DK and Badger going on to the NFL. So I think there is a opportunity for him to shoot up the depth chart if he can replicate anything close to what we saw in the spring. And we were hearing it all spring as well. It wasn't just a spring game, but him and Vernell Brown III, the other true freshman wide receiver, were really showing out all spring long. Florida's going to count on those guys, and they were able to perform in the spring game. So, I think it's just obvious when you're looking at Florida and what happened in the spring game and everything we heard throughout spring. Dallas Wilson likely can be that guy of a true freshman that can probably break out and have an early impact there for Florida at the receiver spot, help this offense there, because the question everybody's asking themselves about this Florida offense is, will Billy Napier, with Lagway, with these receivers, really open it up a bit more? I mean, you have 4 or 5 offensive linemen returning, you have a strong running game, you'll be able to lean on that. But when Florida needs to open it up, when Florida has to open it up, whether they're down or they want to start the game off a little more aggressive, will they have the ability to do so? I think you start pinpointing that wide receiver position and the potential there, and Dallas Wilson, I think, is going to be a big part of that.
Let me ask you this on that open it up, Dave. because I don't often look at it and think that. Is that just sort of the Florida fan base mentality that it has to be fun and gun, it has to be stretch the field? Like maybe Greg disagrees with me, but I don't look at the offense as being unaggressive. It's a force your way, take what you're given, and then maybe throw some shots in at specific times offense to me that's all connected and built around itself, as opposed to just, hey, let's go try to do this. Is that something that just the fan base needs, or do you really believe that was something that could have been done that just flat wasn't done at times?
Cole, I think we go back to a year ago, and there was a lot of off-season talk with Graham Mertz, the quarterback then. Would he be able to open it up? And we know it was an off-season focus on, hey, let's try to hit more shots down the field. Now, to your point, I completely agree with you. And maybe that's part of the problem, is it's maybe a predictable aggression. I think the offense is built around the run game, and then they get around midfield, and on first down they're going to take that play action deep shot, and you know what's coming. And so I think tie into the aggression of I kind of agree with your point. My whole point, and what I've been trying to talk with Gator fans about, is when the point needs to be aggressive, then go be aggressive. When you need to lean on the run game, lean on the run game. Like for me, I'm looking at it as, I think it needs to be a more balanced offense in the fact that you need to be able to pick and choose what you want to do and can do. You need to be able to dictate the game, and whether that means throwing 40 times and winning the game, go be able to do so. Whether that means running the ball 50 times and winning the game, be able to do so. And I think Florida's in a pretty good spot of doing that, but I think when the fan base sees the DJ Lagway, when they see the receivers that Billy Napier has recruited and developed, it's can now he open up the offense. So I kind of agree with you. I don't think it needs to be throwing the ball 40, 45 times every game. It needs to be able to do so when the situation dictates it. So, but I think, going to your point, the fan base wants that. Since Steve Spurrier was roaming those sidelines, the fun and gun, that's just kind of been the moniker of what they want to see in the Gator offense. And I think it kind of stems from that. But I think a lot of it for Gator Nation too is now seeing what you have at quarterback, seeing what you have at receiver, and maybe that allows Billy Napier to open it up a bit more if he wants to, needs to.
Is there the ultimate amount of trust in the defense improving drastically from where they were last year? Because I think we all trust progress that we'll see from Lagway. At least we're all assuming there'll be significant amount of progress made there, regardless of whether or not he was available for spring. But there are some questions I think about, hey, the defense does have to replace some key pieces. I love some of the guys that are back, but last year they really didn't start to play really well until the end of the year. Is there hope and optimism that this group can be pretty dang good from start to finish?
I think so, Greg, because of the guys that do return up front with Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp. Now, I think there's some questions with depth behind those guys. You get George Gums returning as well, but that edge group was hit hard for the transfer portal with Jack Pyburn going to LSU and TJ Searcy going to Texas A&M. So you lost some depth there up front, and I really like Florida's linebacker group. But there's been health concerns in the secondary since the end of the season, all through spring practice, and I think that's the big question. And you go back and look at that in November, and there's big wins versus Ole Miss and a big win versus LSU, and probably labeled as a lot of bend don't break. There was a lot of yardage from those teams they garnered up, but once they got into the red zone, Florida's defense buckled down and forced, missed fourth down conversions, missed field goals, and they were able to come out on the winning side of things. But it really started up front. Florida's secondary looked better once you saw Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks become more consistent forces in the backfield last year. So I think, Greg, going to your point, it's about getting up to a much better start. You go back and look at those games versus Miami and Texas A&M to start the season, and his defense just lost their way. They looked lost. They changed some things in a bye week. Ron Roberts took more control, and you started seeing some improvement. So I think the question is, can you use November? Can you use those big wins against LSU and Ole Miss last year as a launching point to get to a more consistent defense? So I think with the returning pieces up front, Florida will be a little more aggressive, but I think now it's turning that page to be not so bend don't break and maybe able to dictate more what you want to do on that side of the ball.
So give us the sort of, I guess, X factor for you with this team. What's the part of it, the position group, the individual, the player? Like, we know Lagway. We know some of the receivers. We think the offensive line is going to be pretty good. I'm really high on Trayvon Ball. Running back room should be fine. They have dynamic players up front defensively. What's the guy position group? Just the aspect of this team, Dave, that you believe can be better than people imagine that'll sort of put them over the hump heading into this year.
Cole, I do go to that secondary, and it's letting up the big plays. That when you look at Florida and those games they really struggled in last year, it was giving up the big play, giving up the big shot down the field. And you have Jordan Castell and Bryce Thornton returning at safety. Devin Moore returns at corner, and maybe along with Dijon Johnson and Cormani McLean at the corner spots. But Devin Moore has not been able to stay healthy throughout his whole career at Florida. He's cornerback one now. And I think a lot's riding on him being able to stay healthy. So, look, I do think up front they'll need to be a little more consistent and aggressive to help those guys, but those guys got to play better as well. They had trouble playing the ball a lot last year. Tackling was a big, especially early in the season. Those games I mentioned against Miami and Texas A&M were big hurdles against this defense. So I think it's that secondary staying healthy and honestly just playing better. They do have another step. Jordan Castell's going into his third year. He's played since his first game as a true freshman, 2 years ago. It's time for that experience to pay off. And also, just guys just stay healthy. I think they could be okay as long as they stay healthy. But as Florida's got to go down the depth chart in the secondary spots, I think that's where the worry starts really creeping in. So I think that is the X factor for this team, especially for this defense, is getting better play out of that secondary.
All right, Dave, thanks for the time. Always appreciate you joining us. Great stuff, getting us caught up there on Florida. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Dave Waters joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We will discuss a little bit more on that Florida schedule and some of the teams that they'll be facing off against this fall next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, so let's focus in a little bit more on Florida, the schedule, what the team may be. Tuesday, June 3rd, 8:17 right here on Jocks 94.5. Kendall Rogers is going to talk college baseball with us at 8:30. What's the floor for Florida this season? Is there a chance it's really bad again? We'll discuss that in a moment. But first, Greg, speaking of floors, if you need a new one, where do you need to go?
The Bishanara Flooring, the company that Fu has built, is all about integrity and trust, and honestly having people in your home that they're going to take care of your home the same way you would want it to be taken care of if you were installing your own floors. They also have 40,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring by Shaw in stock. That's really an amazing amount of inventory. So you can go see it, touch it, feel it, look at it, lay it out, whatever you want to do to go take a peek at it, because they're the only company here in the area that stocks that much CoreTech. And that CoreTech is kid-proof, waterproof, pet-proof. It brings value to your home or business. They're really easy to clean. They're really easy to maintain. And they're ideal for kitchens, laundry rooms, bathrooms, pretty much anywhere in your home. Get 12 months financing with approved credit. So if you're thinking about making some changes to your floors, call who? Call Fu. Call them at 205-518-6423 or go online at fuandyou.com.
It does kind of feel like secondary is the concern heading into it this season for Florida. Maybe the health of DJ Lagway, if you wanted to throw that there, but that's something that I think has to come along. Maybe overall organization of defense, since it's sort of changed hands multiple times the last 3 years. But that's, if you're going personnel, that would be the part that I'd be concerned with, GMAC. And then you go to that schedule, some big opportunities early. Now, I don't know about LIU, the Sharks coming to Gainesville. That wouldn't be it, but USF will be tricky because you got Byron Bound back at quarterback. They can put up yards. They're aggressive up front defensively. They can be problematic in different ways. Florida should be able to run the ball. If you take advantage of some of that movement up front, should open up some holes for a talented backfield there. And you're at home. At LSU, that's tough week 3. But what we do know, we might be concerned about the secondary, but what we do know is they have guys up front that can get to the quarterback.
Yes.
And LSU may have holes up front on the offensive line. That's where I would say, and maybe just handling the front 7, because Perkins week should be back, should be fine. You got to manage that group first if you're going to have any chance to beat LSU on the road. But if you can do that and find a way to get to Nussmeier, that Florida could have some big advantages in that game Saturday.
That was
September
a great
13th.
game last year.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously, look, it's not always they had answers for him last year. So it's not that that's the end all be all is, hey, how'd they play last year? Well, it does have some carryover. Now on the road, tough spot, obviously, right? I mean, that game's likely, I'd be surprised. Well, it's already announced 7:30.
It is
prime time. So
yep.
I was going to say that game's going to be at night, tough road trip. And South Florida is no picnic either. I mean, South Florida gave them all they wanted a couple years ago. I believe you were on the call, were you not?
Yes, I have had a South Florida game recently.
So I think that's a tricky one.
Florida recently.
I think that's a tricky one. So I think you have to get off to a really good start, winning one of the two, at LSU or at Miami.
Yeah, at Miami would be next. Miami will be tested, but no Cam Ward, and that was one of the biggest differences last year. No Xavier Restrepo, one of the bigger differences last year. So they're a different football team. Now they'll have talent. They'll have guys back. No Damian Martinez, but that's there'll be a good offensive line that you're facing with an experienced quarterback and playmakers. So you get a week off and then you play Texas.
It's a beast early.
You play at Texas A&M the next week. You get Mississippi State. Week off, you play Georgia. I guess, when does it end? Kentucky on the road after that.
That's when it lightens up, is at the back half. Everything else between now and then, no.
Hold on now. That's at Kentucky on November 8th. There was a coach at one point in time that had that game moved.
Yes. I also saw Kentucky last year.
They didn't like going to those parts at that time of year. But yes, this is not a younger Mark Stoops' Kentucky team.
No.
At least we think.
Well, it might be okay. They might be all right. But I think around the same time, remind me if I'm totally inaccurate here, off base, by all means. I believe that was around the same time as when Auburn went to Kentucky last year. And it wasn't pretty.
Auburn ain't never been scared of the cold.
We used to the cold on the plains.
Yeah, I don't think it should be a scary one. You're at Ole Miss. after that, and Tennessee at home after that, with Florida State at home after that. Goodness gracious. It's a gauntlet. But
you think?
But as I went through earlier, some of the matchup issues with LSU and Miami that you potentially could cause. We don't know the Texas offensive line is going to be great.
No.
And once again, Caleb Banks and company could be problematic up front there.
Could be.
Now, if your secondary is a problem, I really don't like you in that game. Your D-line's going to have to play really well at A&M. Yeah, they're going to have to step up and be a problem against a pretty good offensive line. You got a quarterback maybe that'll give it back, and that's where you could run into some issues there. That Texas A&M front won't be the same, so maybe that's an area you can control the football game. You know, Georgia's front, not the same that it's been. Maybe that's an area you can finally find some big advantages in that matchup. And like we said, the Georgia offensive line is a bit of a wild card right now.
I would say so.
It's going to be good or bad. Could be really good.
Could be great. Could be terrible.
But that'd be an area that you could have some advantages. Ole Miss, Florida should be able to punch Ole Miss in the face, similar to what they did last year.
Oh,
both sides of the ball.
Don't you start.
Did they not?
Don't you start. If Ole Miss wouldn't be so dang cute on 3rd and 4th and 1, be a different game.
Why are teams cute? Because they don't want to be what? Rugged. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I think if you had a 330-pound running back / quarterback / defensive tackle, that's pretty rugged. They wanted to dance outside on a stretch zone on 4th and 1.
Then you know what? Put him in a 3-point stance behind the quarterback and give it to him on inside zone instead of letting him take shotgun snaps.
Yeah, but I want to do spin moves. Look how spin.
Tell me how many trick plays y'all run under Saban? Y'all are pretty rugged.
Like 3
in 8 years
combined. Yeah, probably.
How many reverses on kickoff returns y'all run? I mean, think about it. The rugged teams don't run a bunch of trick plays. They don't get cute because they don't have to. That Michigan team that won a national title a couple of years ago. How many trick plays you see them run? Hell, I don't know if they ran a single one on offense.
The year before against TCU, they ran a few.
Well, that was pure panic desperation mode at that point. That was literally unleash the cabinet.
That was a hard one to watch, but yeah, they did run a few that day. How'd it go for them?
They went to the what are the doomsday? They went to the doomsday prep storage closet in that game.
Don't do it.
They did.
It's true. I was there. I saw it. Not live, but
you weren't there.
Saw it on TV.
I was going to say, I was there. I didn't see you.
I watched it on TV. I was there.
Saw RG3 leave, but I didn't know you left too.
Yeah. It's the longest labor ever.
So listen, it's a tough schedule, but it's like you and I have had the conversation on Tennessee. There's a lot of people that are going to look at this schedule right now, Greg, and say, oh, they can't beat Ole Miss. Oh, they can't beat Tennessee. How can you say definitively right now Tennessee and or Ole Miss are just better than Florida? But people will say it. A lot of people are going to say it going into the year.
Cool, they had a better record
Texas
last year.
A&M, same thing. I think Texas A&M absolutely could be better than Florida. Can you definitively say it right now? No. I don't even think you can put LSU there because of some of the potential problems that they have. Oh, Harold Perkins is back. How are you using him? Is Whitweek's going to be healthy? I mean, there's plenty of questions for LSU. There's probably more questions with LSU than Florida. But for whatever reason, the stigma right now is that Florida's got issues and Florida's got problems. I mean, hell, we just had a guy on that covers Florida that told us not stretching the field, being explosive, being high risk on offense is a problem. When that's not the offense they run. That ain't it. But it's a problem. That's just, it's this.
Because they assume that if it becomes a shootout, they can't win.
All right, let's go through the teams on the schedule that can outshoot them.
LSU is one.
Maybe. What if they can't protect him? And let me ask you this. Are they going to hand the ball off? And by that, I mean ever.
They have a top running back room. Didn't you read that?
It's honorable mention. Miami. Possibly.
Yes. Dude, LSU and Miami will be able to score.
Okay.
So that is a challenging matchup. But guess what? It was a challenging matchup forever.
Yeah. Texas, yes.
Texas can score.
A&M.
Rugged. Good matchup.
Mississippi State.
Yes, can score.
Yes, but no.
But can't stop anybody.
Georgia.
I think Georgia's going to revert back to being a little more rugged and not quite as high octane.
Kentucky.
Can't score.
No. Ole Miss.
Can score.
Probably doesn't really matter what personnel.
Yeah.
Tennessee, we would say yes, but I mean, think about their offense last year and how they leaned on the run game and then the personnel exchange for this year.
I think the biggest misconception in college football might be that Tennessee's this juggernaut offense, when in all reality last year, that was not who they were. Like, okay, Josh Heupel in his early days as a head coach did coach to offense for sure. They wanted to pile up points, and they did. And it was a fun watch.
What would be
if you look at who they were last year.
While you're saying this, hold on. What's your ultimate metric here? Total offense?
No, I care about points per game.
Okay, just keep going. I'll find it.
I care about points per game. If you look at Tennessee, like, look at the game last year against Oklahoma. Look at the game last year against Alabama. Look at the game last year against Florida. Look at the game last year against Arkansas that they lost. Look at the game last year, against Ohio State, whatever. Like, they're not a crazy high-powered outfit. They're actually a complimentary football team, which is showing the growth and evolution of Josh Heupel.
See, I think they're high-powered. I think you're exactly right, but I think it's misperceived in a different way.
Well, they think because
people think
at
that they're
one
a
point
500-yard passing per game offense, and they're a high-powered offense, but it's just not near as pass-heavy as people want it to be or think it is. They were 12th in scoring offense last year. 35.7.
Okay, but you have to take into account that against, the Little Sisters of the Poor, they score 75.
Well, they did play the worst team in college football last year.
Who is that?
We've had the conversation on the show about them.
Okay,
and kind of where they were. I'll take it by game. I'll take the game log. They put 71 on Kent State, who's the worst team in college football.
Beautiful.
This year. 51 on North Carolina State, 69 on Chattanooga. But
Thank
like
you.
said,
So they're three non-conference.
25.
Let's look at their
Arkansas 14.
They didn't score. They
Florida
scored 25 against Oklahoma.
Bama 24, Kentucky 28, Mississippi State 33, Georgia 17, UTEP 56, Vandy 36.
All right, hang on. Let's go through
Ohio State 17.
In conference play. Like conference play.
Yeah, I just did it. 25
in conference
Oklahoma.
play, yes. Let's look up points per game. Tennessee last year. That's opponents' points per game. I was gonna say that's way too low. Points per game last year.
They were second in the SEC in points per game, but that's not just conference games.
No, in just conference games. Here we go. I got it. In conference play last year, Tennessee averaged 25 points per game. That was 76th in college football.
Okay, but it was 9th in the SEC, which just as damning as 76. Yeah.
How do you view? I don't know. Well, if you look at LSU, they were 26.
This is just what I would give to people. I would say, where do you think Tennessee was in the SEC in passing yards per game? What do you think the average fan would answer to that?
I would say.
You think
10th.
the average fan would say 10th?
Nico Iamaleava, dude.
Yeah, I think the average fan would say at least top 5. Maybe top 3. Who else was good throwing the ball? I mean, Ole Miss was good, yeah, but maybe Texas. I think they would say top 3, maybe top 5. They were 12th. Tennessee was 12th in the SEC in passing yards per game last year. 221. That's where I think the misconception is. I think people think that they throw the ball over the yard, that they're this high-powered, push the ball down the field offense, and I do think they were a dynamic offense last year. I just don't think it's in the ways that people believe. That's what I think. So it's a great conversation. It's a fun conversation. We'll continue it, but we got to take a break to talk college baseball. Kendall Rogers will be with us next to do that right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, let's talk a little college baseball. Super regional participants are now set. Wasn't the best outing from the SEC in regional action, but did have a little bit of a makeup day yesterday with LSU advancing, Tennessee advancing. Ole Miss goes down to Murray State. But nonetheless, Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball going to join us down the Higginbotham Hotline to discuss it. Who is the best pitcher left in this tournament that we need to make sure is must-see TV?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Arnold at Florida State would be that guy. I mean, if you look at the way he pitched over the weekend against Mississippi State, I think it was 13 strikeouts and 6 or 7 innings. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the MLB draft. He's got one of the best sliders in college baseball. And so, yeah, he would be the guy for me. I do think kind of sticking with that super regional, I do think for Oregon State, Dax Whitney, a freshman, is an outstanding arm. Obviously with LSU, with Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson. But yeah, those are kind of the primary guys as we look ahead to next weekend.
When you look at some of the matchups this week, it's hard not to get fired up about Arkansas, Tennessee. I mean, I just think that's about as good as it gets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you're a fan of. You can't miss those. But is there another one beyond that one that has you fired up?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to look at Auburn and Coastal. I just think when you look at the super regional overall, I mean, you look at Auburn, a club that has been really good at Plainsview Park. With all these SEC teams struggling over the weekend, Auburn was a constant. They were really good. They, for the most part, I know a couple of their games were close, but I mean, I don't think anybody watched those games and went, okay, they're in danger of losing. So I love just their business-like approach over the weekend. And then you look at Coastal Carolina, you Kevin Shaw in his first season. You always wonder when you lose a legendary coach if there's going to be a little bit of a dip. There was not a dip there. They just got a lot better. And so, you look at the job that he's done. Coastal, historically, we kind of, consider those guys an offensive juggernaut. They're good offensively, but this is much more of a pitching-oriented team. You look at Jacob Morrison, a lead arm, Cam Fluke, Riley Eichhoff over the weekend. Was really good against stout competition in Conway. And so, yeah, I just think Auburn and Coastal, for me, are playing at a really high level, and how that series goes down this weekend on the Plains will be fascinating.
It's kind of interesting to me when you look at some of the teams that just flat out dominated last week and really were kind of unscathed through the regionals. I have a tendency to kind of gravitate towards those teams thinking that they're hot right now, and then they are a totally different team this upcoming weekend and fall flat in the super regionals. So how should we kind of evaluate the performance in the regional as to how it might be an indicator of future results?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think regionals are much different from supers in the sense you look back to yesterday and you had, Tennessee having to bring Liam Doyle back after he pitched Friday. You had, Ole Miss bringing Hunter Elliott back after he pitched Friday. Ianson last night for LSU closed out their regional when he started the Friday game. So it is different. I do think some of these coaches, like Jay Johnson at LSU, probably even Tony Vitello at Tennessee, they probably take like a deep breath after regionals and go, okay, now I can finally relax a little bit because you're back to a normal setup. And I've always kind of thought, not to get too deep in the weeds in the college baseball, tournament structure talk here, but I've always actually been a fan of having a 3-game series. To determine each round of the postseason, because I get like the NBA and Major League Baseball, they go to a 7-game series and things like that when you typically play a 3-game series or a 4-game series. I get that, but it'd be like college football playing like a best of 3 to determine the national champion, and and deviating away from the regular schedule. So for baseball, I would actually like to see them just stick with a 3-game series, and frankly, it's better for arm care. I think if you looked over the weekend, I don't think any of us want to see Liam Doyle, who's a premium draft prospect, or Anthony Ianson, and kind of the same type of prospect. I don't think anybody wants to see those guys have to come back twice. But I do think as you look ahead, going back to your original question, I do think as you look ahead to next weekend, I think it's fascinating because you kind of get to see the true team a little bit, what they're actually building their team around.
Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Let's go a little further into this matchup this weekend. Sure. Auburn, Coastal Carolina. You mentioned arms, their importance. Obviously, in series baseball can be a little bit different with some of the usage. Where do you give Auburn some big advantages, and maybe where do you look at this for some serious concerns for Butch Thompson's team in this series?
Yeah, I actually really like Auburn at home in this series. I just think they're playing extremely well. But I think the biggest thing for me when I look at Auburn is just the middle of that offensive lineup. I don't feel like Coastal kind of has those guys like Auburn, like an Ike Irish, where every time he comes to play, everybody puts their drink down, they get off their phone, they quit texting their girlfriend, and they want to watch him hit. And I don't feel like Coastal kind of has that guy. So I do think offensively, I give a pretty sizable edge to Auburn. I do think the one thing that I wouldn't say concern me, but the one thing that I do think Coastal has better of is just the overall weekend rotation. I just think when you look at, Morrison, Fluky, Eichhoff, it's a very consistent and a very good three-man rotation. Auburn's rotation is fine, but it's not, they're not going out there and throwing up, 6 zeros, every other weekend. And so I do think Coastal has a pitching advantage, and I think Auburn has for me, a pretty sizable offensive advantage, which means it should be a pretty awesome series.
How big of an advantage is it to be at home in these supers? Obviously, you mentioned Plains Park and how good Auburn's been at home this year, but I kind of looked throughout, and well, obviously, teams that hosted the regionals in many cases ended up winning their regional, but is it even more significant when you get to the supers?
Yeah, I think so. It's like those tight moments late in the game and, the final game, and you'd much rather be in your home park with people going crazy than being on the road and being in that pressure cooker. And so, there are ballparks around where, being at home is not that big of a deal. But I actually, as I've watched the Auburn throughout the season, it's been really cool. A lot of credit kind of goes to that administration, John Cohen, for developing this, and obviously, Butch for creating a team that allows fans to be this passionate. But, you've watched their games this year, and that place has become pretty awesome. You look at the renovations, their crowds have been great. They've been dialed in. And so, yeah, I do think there is an element of the Super Regionals where when you're at home, it's just a lot more comfortable, especially when you're a team like Auburn. You're used to playing LSU at home. You're used to playing Bama at home, et cetera. And so this is just like another weekend.
Kendall Rogers talking Super Regionals coming up this weekend. Where's the gap here with some of the teams that are making – look at Murray State, first trip to a Super Regional. Obviously, Tennessee's been to 5 straight. Miami's been to 13. LSU's been to 17. Florida State's been to 19. Of the big dogs, the teams that we probably look at from a distance and say, yeah, they'll just roll, they'll dominate, and some of the newcomers, teams that maybe aren't regular players, how big is the gap this year? Because it doesn't feel like it's massive, and it felt like, okay, well, NIL is going to make these, the SEC teams, big teams, be able to pull away. It doesn't feel like a huge gap to me, at least.
No, that's a great observation. We were just talking to the staff about this last night that, we thought it would turn into football a little bit where, just like all the SEC teams and ACC teams just kill everybody and everybody else would be, eating the table scraps. And that really has not been the case. I'll have to ask some coaches when the season's over, like why they feel that way. My guess is you still kind of have some lingering of these COVID rosters. If you look around the country, because of the house settlement, we're still all over the place on rosters. I do think some of these teams still have a lot of older players. And I've always said it, and it probably applies to football and basketball too. But I mean, when you have guys that have had 700 at-bats in college still in your roster, that's a pretty big deal. So I would think the common denominator when you go down and look at the Murray States, you look at Little Rock last night, giving LSU all look at handles a 4 seed. I bet you go up into those rosters and it's like senior after senior after senior. And so I think that matters. And I think the other thing too is I think mid-majors are getting smart about NIL. I think, if let's just say you're Coastal Carolina or you're Murray State, not to equate those two, Coastal Carolina obviously a lot more accomplished, but I'm just saying when you compare those two programs, if you're not going to make your hay in football, like Coastal Carolina football is fine, but like you're not going to go compete against Alabama and Auburn in football. So what they're going to do, they're going to put a little bit more NIL money into sports like baseball that can get them national notoriety without breaking the bank. So what I kind of wonder, and I've heard this from a couple of different players that people thought would enter the portal this summer but aren't going to do it. But what they've done is they put aside some money and said, hey, we're going to make sure we keep our 2, 3, 4 best players on our mid-major roster, and we're going to go just get the guys that those bigger schools cut, and we're going to backfill our roster with those guys. So what's happening is you're getting SEC caliber players at these schools. They're just not the guys that are starting. And guess what? A backup in the SEC is pretty good. I mean, you think of like some of these teams out there and guys that are coming off the bench, those are really good players. So I just think instead of creating a bigger gap, it's almost creating more parity because these kids are going to sit around and be a backup and, by the way, get no money to do it.
Finally, Arkansas, want to get back to them. Obviously, big game this weekend. They've been a team that's just like, I don't know how you don't love them. I mean, with what they've had to endure as a baseball fan base for as long as I can remember, the heartbreaks, having it down to 1 out a few years back. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to get over that, even as a neutral observer. That's one that stings for sure. Can this potentially be their year? Because it seems like everything's starting to fall in line.
Yeah, I did love the way Arkansas played over the weekend. And that first game against North Dakota State, you're thinking, oh, geez, here we go again. But they come back and win that game, or they take care of business in that game. And I thought they played outstanding baseball throughout the rest of the weekend. Vahima Loy was outstanding. They got, big hits from Logan Maxwell. Their pitching, Gage Wood, I want to say Gage Wood had 12 or 13 strikeouts in his start for the Hogs. They played a dominant brand of baseball. And again, they didn't have the toughest regional, but this is the same team that just a year ago struggled mightily with Kansas State at home, who they were good. They weren't awesome. And so Arkansas, very businesslike weekend. I'm with you. I think this needs to be the year for them. You look around college baseball, like some of the teams who can get to Omaha, they're good. They're not incredible. And so this could definitely be their year when you look just the sheer balance of offense, pitching, depth, and certainly experience.
Well, Kendall, we appreciate the time, man. Love catching up with you. Always great hearing your insight on college baseball.
You got it, brother.
Super
Y'all have a good week.
Yep, we'll catch up soon. There you go. Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Interesting thoughts there on a lot of those teams, kind of where they are, where they're going to end up, what he thinks that they're going to be. We know what Bromberg is going to be, though, Greg.
Yeah, it's first class all the way around. For nearly 200 years, they've been serving people in this community. You'll understand what I'm talking about the second you go in the door. It's just an elevated experience when you walk in the door at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village or the Summit. You can go and get that one-of-a-kind natural diamond. That diamond's going to signify something remarkably special in your life. Hey, it's time to think about maybe popping the question. Go in there and take a peek. A lot of people will be popping the question this summer. Go and take a peek at what they have at Bromberg's. They got gold, they got platinum, they got silver, they got it all. But those unique gemstones are really, really special. I mean, these are things that are going to last in your family for multiple generations. So I highly recommend taking advantage of the experience that you'll have when you go and shop at Bromberg. So go check them out in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit, but you can always check them out online as well at brombergs.com.
Greg has a question about physical fitness. We will hear the question and respond to it next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Great update on college baseball there from Kendall Rogers, one of the best in the business covering college baseball. Super regionals this weekend. A couple SEC teams going to host. And I loved your question about home field advantage. And his response was, I thought, great. The comfort of knowing where you're going, where you're going to be, how to get there, what the park looks like, the intricacies of the park. I think it all plays an advantage. It does feel like that it shouldn't be as big of a deal in baseball. But we know, like, the Auburn crowds over the weekend were incredible. You go play at Alex Box, the crowd's going to have an impact on the games. You know, it's in these SEC venues, be it Ole Miss, Arkansas, have gotten so much better. It's so much more fun and so much more raucous that it's going to give you some advantages, but it doesn't feel like as big advantages as some other sports.
Yeah.
But it's there's a reason that LSU has won 24, 28 regionals they played at home. One, they're good and have good players, but two, it's a tough place to go play. It's not comfortable. So when I think that comfort level in baseball can help you go a long way with how mentally taxing the sport is and the focus that it takes to be good at it and to be consistent with it. So,
I think so for sure. I mean, I might be naive, but I think home field in baseball might be as impactful as pretty much anywhere else. Because of how mental it is.
Right.
Like, if you're on your home golf course, you're going to feel more comfortable. If you're in your home baseball diamond, you're going to feel more comfortable. Like, basketball is reactionary. Baseball, you have time between pitches to kind of get in your head. Like, I just think there's some sports where it doesn't matter as much. Baseball is not one of those.
How impactful have your workouts been recently?
Really impactful. I'm just a monster right now in all the ways.
How many workouts have you gotten in the last week and a half?
2. Yesterday and today.
It's a tie for me, by the way. Do we count Saturday morning in Biloxi walking about a mile to get coffee?
I think
does that count as a workout?
I think that's the genesis of where our conversation is going to go today. Like, at what point, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not being judgy, because I'm seldom going to judge people for being active. Totally support people being active. But I always viewed, the two guys that were walking down the street as if that's their workout. Like, I was always like, that's not a workout. Like, walking is not a workout. Walking is how you get from A to B. That's not a workout. And I have now, at 37 years old, acknowledged the fact that walking is very much a workout.
There it is.
And I've completely changed my tune.
Right, yeah.
And I just think, at what age do you start to change your mentality? And also, like, level of strain is purely relative now. There was a time in my life in which I would never get under the bench press with less than 225 pounds on the bar. Just wouldn't, because I felt like it was a sign of weakness. Okay, a warm-up set, fine. Put 185 on.
Your warm-up 225 every time?
No, my warm-up was 185. Probably 135 for 5 or 6. Yeah, 135, 5 or 6, 8, thereabouts. I mean, it was literally the easiest. It was so easy back then. Then probably went to 185 for 5 or 6. And then, then we're going 225, 275. Probably usually finish around 275, 315 in that vicinity. And now, honestly, if you told me my life depended on repping out 225 for 1, I cannot tell you with certainty I could accomplish that feat with proper bench press form.
So the question is, when does that change? I think when it changed for me was when the cost benefit changed. And it would be more the cost of
tearing a pec.
Torn pec, torn rotator cuff, just honestly, maybe not even torn, but just something that aggravates you to the point of it shuts most other things down for a week or 3 days or 2 days.
Right.
And so we begin to offset that. That's where things dramatically began to change for me. Knee, back, different things like that of don't want to aggravate. It's not worth the putting 315 on the bench and repping it.
Correct.
For what that's going to do to me for the next 3-4 days.
Yes.
And I will say this, 2 summers ago is when my brain fully got itself okay with walking being a workout. I did steps. I counted steps, and that was my workout for the day.
But it's a tough pill to swallow. I'm in the same boat, by the way. Like, I feel I used to run regularly. You knew, like, yeah. I'm running 5-6 miles, no problem. Hills. I mean, up through, tough hills too. Like, that was my workout. If I ran less than 3.5, 4 miles, it was like, it's a recovery day. Now it's like, if I walk up my hill, I feel like I did something today. Today, that was a good day for me. I got in heart rate zone 1.
I've got something less than that I count that you'll really laugh at. On the other side, I'll tell you.
Getting out of bed.
No. It does involve movement.
Eating.
No. It does involve
12-ounce
movement,
curls.
Here we go. So the question for you is, do you consider walking a workout yet? You will at one point. And there will come a day that you do. Do you now? When did you?
Yeah,
And
when do you flip that switch?
how drastically have you shifted other workouts? We'll finish that conversation on the other side. Next, right here on Jocks 94.5. Listen online, jocksfm.com. The app is in your app store. Watch live on YouTube. Tell your home smart speaker to just enable the Jock skill. Are we talking workouts here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning? Too bad it's not Wednesday. It could be another workout Wednesday. Jamie Bailey tweeting into the show, I walk on average 5 miles a day at work, up and down hills. Delivery person? What?
I don't know what he does.
I only walk up
5 miles, I could see a lot of different jobs, but the up and down hills part, that.
Security guard? Like patrolling grounds?
Yeah, okay. Could be it.
5 miles, good walk.
Track coach.
Not usually hills.
They probably find a rascal or something.
Cross country?
I think track is for the most part flat. I'd have to double check.
I got, what is the head groundskeeper at a golf course?
Ooh, yeah.
That's a good one.
I feel like they cart it though.
I'm about to say most of the time I
walk 18
see
every morning.
I see
Check
carts.
the grounds.
I don't
That
blame them either.
El Camino thing, whatever they have, that's a golf cart, but it's got the flatbed in the back.
Oh yeah.
I like to feel it warm.
An
with
El
the course.
Camino golf
Whatever
cart.
it's called. Yeah.
Is that what we're going with?
Flatbed.
Sure.
It's called a side by side.
Yeah.
Work
Sorry,
trip.
I'm not about that life. I wouldn't know.
So I have gotten to the point, and Greg mentioned, like, when do you begin to count
Give up.
walking as a workout?
When do you give up?
Greg referenced it as giving up. When do you begin to start counting things that at one point in time in your life weren't actual workouts, but now you think they are? I'm there with a couple of things. One, I count kickball, baseball, football in the backyard with the kids as a workout now.
Oh no.
I'm active.
No.
I'm moving around.
No.
And sometimes
No.
we're out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It counts.
No.
I'm not saying
Stop.
I'm not saying that it's a CrossFit workout. It's not Murph, but
It's not what?
you heard me. But I'm saying it is an activity. So therefore it counts.
No. No.
I admit it's pathetic.
That is
in nature.
bad.
Well, it
I
is.
love you.
It
And
is.
I can't allow that.
What it is. It is what it is.
I can't allow that. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Like working out, pitching wiffle ball to the kids is not a workout. That's the equivalent. You know what? Hey, me standing there watching my 3-year-old swim in circles yesterday is a workout. I was outside. I was doing something.
I didn't say just being outside qualifies it. I said moving around, running the bases,
Oh, you're running the bases.
playing outfield by yourself.
I thought
being the
walking was a
only-
workout.
only
You didn't
player
walk the
on
bases.
defense. I kick it up a notch a little bit every now and
Were you Chris Paul, like
Step it
fast
up some.
walking, or
then.
So
No.
basically, you're like Nick Fairley. Like every third time you run the bases,
Exactly.
you're going after it.
That's actually great. It's a great comp. I'll take it. Don't even mind it.
Don't even mind it. Can't be mad
Do
at it.
not even mind it one bit.
Can't do it. I think at some point though, I really more
Like
want to
bike
know
rides around the neighborhood with the kids.
Not a workout.
I'm counting it. I don't care. I'm
with
pedaling.
the kids.
I'm pedaling with a 10-year-old.
You probably have an electric bike, anyways.
No,
Yes.
no.
Or as my buddy likes to call it, a Biden bike. Like, well, just because I'm not pedaling doesn't make it.
oh, you're peddling something?
You're
Does he make fun of all the kids in his neighborhood on electric scooters too? Because there's a ton of those.
Those are illegal in
Were
Mountain
you
Brook now.
at one point?
Hold on, illegal?
Yes.
Like they will arrest you for riding on an electric
You
scooter
have
in
to
Mountain
do
Brook, Alabama.
Hard time. Yeah, hard time. It's a blue collar crime. I don't know. There's some type of rule they just put in place. I don't know what it is,
Okay,
but it's been
rule
all
and
the,
illegal are
been all
somewhat
the-
different.
It's been a hot topic of debate.
Oh, so this is a new BBVA compass thing where we're doing.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't keep track of these things.
Is this because
There's
somebody
always
had an
something.
illegal scooter?
I'm going too
Those
fast. I don't
juiced
know.
up?
Yes, they took the governor off. I have no idea. I don't know what these things are.
There's some of these kids. that
I had one of those scooters in like 6th grade.
Some of these
course,
kids
right.
want to get hurt bad. I'm just saying.
It scares me.
When you were bike riding, were you like toting the kids at one point? Have like the little rickshaw
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever? When
Now
they-
that's a
'cause
workout.
I feel like that is.
Now
Because
that's a
I did have that
workout.
you're
thing.
hauling kids.
Can I add one? Pushing the stroller is a workout, guys.
Okay, you're not going to allow me riding a bike around a neighborhood,
Or walking. But
but
pushing a stroller.
pushing a stroller is a workout?
I'm sorry. Does your bike weigh 60 pounds with 2 kids in it?
No.
Because if
I
it
don't-
does,
my bike never has 2 kids in it, so I don't know. But I'm pedaling it and I'm on it and I weigh more than 60.
are you sure?
Positive.
Get the
Not more
scale,
than
David.
Not more than 260 though, which I'm proud of. But yes, more than 60. So I'm pedaling myself. So therefore, yes, it's actually a harder workout than pushing the stroller.
Pushing the stroller with children on a jog and or a paced walk, not just any walk, a paced walk
Here we go.
is a workout. And I'm telling you, I've given up, guys. I'm just gonna admit it. I've given up. I have lost my fastball. Not that I was like ever some freak show from a workout standpoint. I wasn't. I was always in good shape. I always tried to take care of myself. Diet's always been terrible. Never cared about that.
Power clean record at.
I was
Dragons.
good in the weight room.
Well, that tracks.
But like a workout warrior,
Are you a good route runner?
I'm not one of those guys that was going to go into.
You have high football IQ?
I wasn't going to the CrossFit Games.
Feel
Just
like
put it
salt
that
of
way.
the earth, yeah.
All right. I wasn't going to the CrossFit Games, and I wasn't going to win any Ironman triathlons.
Okay.
All right. That wasn't going to happen. All right. I'm not a workout warrior like that. Good in the weight room. Good
if
in
you
certain
could do
lifts.
one or the other, which would you rather do?
Triathlon for sure. 100%. I think I could finish a triathlon. I had no chance.
How much do you want on that right now?
I could do an Olympic length triathlon.
How much do you want to wager on that right now?
How long do I get to train?
You didn't say that. You just said you could finish one.
I
Right
think I
now.
could. Yeah, I think I could.
Like today.
Yeah, I think I could do it.
That's not training. That's right now.
I'll bet $1,000 you can't.
I'll put in 20.
Okay.
Done.
All right,
10,
hold on.
20,
Wait a second.
action.
Hold on. Well,
And
yeah,
I'm not going to walk.
in a week.
I'm
Sure.
not going to walk. Well, put it this way, I'm not going to walk.
I could walk to Montgomery in a week. I mean,
The hardest for me would probably
what took you
be
so long? Well, I stopped at the Days Inn and slept.
The hardest for me would probably be
That's a film to catch up on,
bike to
sorry.
run transition now. Like most people struggle with the swimming. I think I could handle the swimming. The bike to run transition would be a struggle because I get tight on the bike.
You mean like taking the clip shoes off and putting your running shoes on?
No, I think I could probably manage that. But
Now
I think
sketches are
there's
looking good,
there's a
aren't they?
real chance I have a lockup at some point with the back
Yeah. Which,
hamstrings.
you know what that equals to? Not finishing.
Oh, I would get through it, but I would not look
Hold on.
comfortable
How
in
do
the
you
first
get
mile.
through your body cramping? Like a full, you sit
I'm
there
not going
and
to
wait?
cramp. I'm not going to cramp, but I'm going to hurt. I'm not going to cramp. I would hurt though, bad. I'm telling you, I've given up. I've never been Johnny Workout
Well,
Warrior.
John and I could go finish it. It just might take us 2.5 days.
Okay, well, you never gave me a time limit. You said finish, and I said yes, to which I will take your $1,020, and I will go do it at some point here. I don't know. Next,
Well, I guess technically
let's
you
go
got to
next
finish in
next
21
spring.
hours because you can't miss the show to do it. Or could you do the show while swimming?
I don't know. I think Clean
We'll
Feet could
try.
handle that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
We could figure it out. Yeah, I think South Carolina's defensive lines could be good. Yeah, I think I could probably handle that. But I'm just telling you, I've just given up working out. I acknowledge now, to me, the hardest thing I do in my workout routine is like 10 minutes on the rower. That is the hardest thing I do.
Rower's tough, man.
Rower's hard. But when that's your peak, and back in the day, you used to run 16 110s with your eyes closed, it's like.
What do you think the distances on a triathlon are?
On an Olympic length triathlon?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is. I don't know the swim distance.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
apparently there
500
are
meters.
Okay, so we're going Ironman. Okay.
No,
'Cause
Ironman.
There's a sprint, an Olympic, a half Ironman, and an Ironman.
Okay, well, I know that the Ironman is a marathon run. It's like a 126-mile bike.
How many miles do you think the run is? I don't have the stupid
A
sticker,
marathon.
so I don't know. I've never run a marathon, nor will I ever.
26.2.
Cool. Do you have the OBA sticker on your car too?
What is that? OBA is Orange Beach,
You know,
Alabama.
all
What
the
is
people
that?
have the
That has
26.2
nothing to do-
stickers on their
that
cars.
one is
Yeah,
not
it's the
related
same
to
Why are
the
they
other.
all into Wu-Tang?
It's the same
I
person.
don't get
That
that.
is not related.
You're right. 26.2 run.
Yes.
Okay. Bike.
126?
Mm-hmm. No. 112.
112. Okay.
Ooh, this guy.
Miles,
Correct.
not meters.
And then I believe the swim's 2.5 miles.
2.4.
There you go.
You got it out easy.
All right. So half marathon's 1.2, 56, 13.1, half marathon.
I just want you to go bike the Greenway on Lakeshore today, which is like 4 miles, and tell me how you feel.
I've
and
run.
then add 108 to that.
I'm not going to bike it. I've run from my house, which we don't need to necessarily go into exactly where that is, but
You're not
all the
finishing
way
it.
down to 65 and back, which is about
without.
11 miles.
It's going to be at least a stop and rest.
No
or
stop rest.
An exhaustion to the point that you lay down and can't go, but then decide to get up and finish later. Like you're not consistently doing this. No.
To give me the Olympic length.
Olympic would be
5K run.
basically a mile swim, 25-mile bike, and 6.2-mile run.
It's a 10K run. Yeah, that'd be hard. The sprint is the 5K run.
Yep.
15-mile bike. 12-mile bike. And a 500.
Basically a half-mile run.
Half-mile swim.
Yeah.
The swim would be too hard at 800 meters.
How many laps is half a mile? Like if
On a
the
20
Olympic down and back is 1 lap, how many would that be for half?
Well, most of the pools that we would swim would be 25 meters.
Holy hell.
On Olympic, yeah, I guess that would be 30 laps because the 1500, Katie
Down and
Ledecky
back
was
is
30.
one.
Yeah, and guess what? We're
Times?
talking open water here too. We're not talking like you stop on the deal.
Yeah,
like
so
that's
now
hard.
your fear of sharks and alligators and snakes is kicking in.
All of them in the lakes.
Just saying.
Yes.
Well, I would say like for that, like you could find a pool, like an Olympic pool, and go do that. I could go to Lakeshore or whatever.
And then get on a Peloton and bike.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
At least that one all right, now we know it's 1500.
Yeah, because
No.
if you do that, then you can't cheat.
Yeah.
I think I could
You
do
seen the
it.
video
I
of
would
this
need.
person getting water from their
I would
crew
need-
that cheats in the bike race.
I would need some
He
training
holds on,
on
and
the
van,
swim.
and the van speeds up and pulls him.
I would need some training on the swim. I think I could handle the bike and the run. I could handle for sure, but I would need some training in the swim.
My problem with the swim is I swim all arms.
Well, that's always a good start. But you're supposed to do that in the triathlon. Save your legs.
Feel like the shoulder's going to be gone after about.
Good. You don't need 'em for the
100
bike.
meters.
You don't need them for the
So
bike. You don't need
next
them for the run.
650 is going to be tough. I'm just saying, if you think you can swim a mile with just arms, good luck.
I
'Cause
don't.
I can tell you, I get to about 100 meters, and arms are going to be literally dead.
I
Like,
don't
not
think.
moving anymore.
I don't think I could do that.
You think you can finish a triathlon? I'd like to introduce you to rhabdomyolysis, which is what I think you would probably be suffering from at some point.
I'd be more concerned about the calf heart attack, which is honestly one of the worst
been a
injuries you
minute
can
since we
have.
brought
I mean,
that up.
honestly, it's
glad you brought
it's
it out of
basically the
retirement.
grown man Achilles.
Giving birth, calf heart attack, and almost anything else. Like
Yes.
that's the level of pain we're
It's
talking
literally
about.
it goes giving birth, femur break, calf heart attack, torn Achilles in that order. 4 worst injuries you can have.
My son told me he thought he broke his leg in baseball last night and kept playing. I'm like, well, we know it's not broken. He said, why? I said, because you're still playing.
Could be non-weight bearing.
You're not. Who is it? Jack Youngblood or whatever played a full game on a broken
Yeah.
leg? Linebacker? Somebody?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll give you one worse than all of this.
Uh-huh.
And it's all in the same lines of workout, activity, injury, since we're talking about that now. Legit pulled my right hamstring pitching to my 5-year-old in the cage last week.
Wait, pulled?
Like, it hurts to walk on right now.
Oh no.
Because he hit one back up the middle. I tried to dodge it and actually bent over to reach to grab it with my glove and hammy.
No, that'll do it. Yeah, it's definitely those sudden movements.
You talk about feeling just worthless.
Yeah. No, I'm telling
And
you.
a 5-year-old
At
ball
what age-
retrieval has forced me to be on the shelf.
Back to our original question. At what age do you just give up? And you just know you're a shell of yourself.
That's what I told myself. The good news is you can't be on the shelf if you're never off of it.
The most insane thing, I like literally think about this. I think about this all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm 37. I've definitely given up. I don't care anymore. And the fact that Tom Brady was playing and competing at the highest level of football 7 years from now is mind-blowing to me.
See, I don't count that. I don't count. It's like everybody says, oh, look at Madonna. She's 58. She's ripped. Like LeBron at 42, whatever, playing in the NBA. LeBron has admitted that he spent like over $3 million on nutrition and wellness.
A year.
Okay, so if you had a private chef and you had a stretcher, not the thing that they could carry you on, but a person that comes in and stretches you, and then a personal trainer that came in and worked you out, and then you had your own physical therapy team that came in and iced your hamstrings and put stim on your knee or whatever it is that you needed every single day, and then someone that came in and gave you all your supplements, which, let's just be real, probably includes a lot of HGH and creams and clears that haven't been discovered yet.
Yes.
You'd probably feel pretty good too. You'd be great right now.
Probably.
You would finish the marathon or triathlon if you did all of that. Both. I'll give you both. Marathon
But still
and triathlon.
think about competing in the NFL at 44 is insane.
It is.
When I consider walking up my hill as a non-starter.
I'll say what I saw LeBron do in Atlanta the night before the SEC championship game, towards the end of that game, where hits a 3, gets a rebound, comes down, makes a shot, then ball gets stolen from teammate, traces it down, pins against the backboard, literally with time expiring, and I'm like, this dude's over 40.
It's insane.
It's not human. But then again, if you spent a literal lottery ticket on your health and wellness every year, I don't think you'd be too far from that. I think you'd have an opportunity to be there.
I know, Greg, you said you've given up, but I think you fully haven't because you still take the stairs in the morning.
I do.
So there's still a little bit of hope left in you.
But that's the point.
I take the stairs after the show.
Oh, right.
That's the point. I take the stairs, and when I walk up 2 flights of stairs, and I sit there and I open that door with a little bit of a huff and puff, and I think to myself, I've done something today. And I walked up 2 flights of stairs. That's the problem.
2.5.
What we now consider to be cardiovascular, the level is so low that I'm honestly proud of myself for walking up the stairs.
2.5, that little bit when you after you park your car.
It's not the walking
That's
up
true.
the
That's
stairs
4
part
stairs.
that's bad. It's what you said after that.
The huff and puff?
No, that you tell yourself you've done something.
Yes. That's the problem.
You don't have to tell yourself.
That's where we're at right now.
You can just let it be what it is.
That's where we're at
Taking
right
the
now.
stairs.
That's where we're at right now. It's like I could ride the elevator and then I'm going to sit there and think to myself, oh, you're so lazy. But because I walked 2 flights of stairs, I can go in today. I'm on my toes. I feel good. Think about how messed up that is. Think about how far we've fallen.
Michael Kirby said he's a mail carrier. Depending on their route, they'll get those steps in.
No question. No question.
Not mine. No. And she's a queen, but drops it off in
car
vehicle every day.
Yeah.
Pete Moss says just threw a 15 bag of trash in a commercial dumpster since it took me 2 tries. That's 62. That's a total body workout. I would agree.
You're good.
Yeah.
You have a deadlift, a clean,
yes,
a push press,
yep,
twice, 2 reps of all those that you just did.
This whole thing came to me last Saturday. Last Saturday, I did the impossible in my mind. I put the cover on the boat. You'll be amazed with this. I put the cover on the boat. I put up the Maui mat, and I took the tube inside, rearranged a couple things, took the trash to the trash dumpster, came home, drove home, helped friends set up crawfish boil on the street, which involved me carrying a backpack cooler and unloading between 10 to 15 pounds of ice. And I thought it was the most strenuous day I've done. I went to bed early Friday night in anticipation of all the activity I had to do the next day.
Define early.
Like 11:15.
Okay.
I was watching Dodgers Yankees. But relatively early, like not crazy. I needed to get a good.
That's not early.
I need to get a good night's sleep because I have a big day tomorrow where I have to put the cover on the boat, put up a tube, lift the Maui mat 7 feet out of the water, take a crawfish broiler out of the back of my truck, and then load 15 pounds of ice and carry a backpack cooler. That was my day on Saturday, and it was exhausting.
That doesn't sound like a workout warrior life.
I'm hitting rock
I
bottom.
don't know what is.
It's rock bottom. It's absolutely rock bottom.
I think you just need to start having different conversations with yourself and not tell yourself that some of these things are. Don't ask the question to yourself, does this count as a workout? Just have it be done and say, well, my day contains strenuous activity. Just let it be.
Well, so it's binary?
Well, because you're having the conversation with yourself, trying to make it things that it's not, and I think that's what's causing you the grief. Just say, I got out there and did. That's what I do. I go out there and play 4 games of kickball. I did something today. I made 2 kids cry when I pegged them.
Work for Billy Madison.
Exactly.
It's true.
Sometimes you just need the inner feeling of domination with somewhat strenuous activity. And that could be 315 pounds. That could be pegging a 5-year-old to the point that he falls down and cries. Either one.
If you haven't noticed, Rocky went in the gym all the time training.
No.
It's true.
Sometimes picked up trees.
Running upstairs.
I'd like to
catching oranges.
I'd like to see Rocky get a Creole feast out of the back of a 1500.
Chasing down chickens.
Couldn't do it.
I'd like to see Rocky carry a backpack cooler.
The way his hands were all taped up like that, I bet he couldn't carry it.
Drago was, in the bathroom with the backpack and running it. And look what happened to him.
Drago was a Steve Emman of those days.
I like to see Drago put the cover on the boat. You have to touch your toes to do that.
He can't do that.
It requires flexibility.
Nope.
And bend.
He didn't have the touch to be able to do that.
Nope.
Too much power.
Too much power.
And along those lines, like a little bit past working out, like Like our buddy Billy Lucci, after the reception Saturday night, begging us to go to the casino, which we did go to the casino a little bit Friday night. Didn't go well.
Well, you're probably not going back on Saturday.
A lot of 4s, 5s, and 6s against 8s, 9s, and face cards and blackjack. Not fun for about 20 straight hands.
Oh, that sounds like Innisfree. Oh.
Have not lost 7 consecutive hands of roulette without hitting anything, I think, ever until this trip to the Beau Rivage, which y'all can now have.
Done with it?
And wife usually does really well in craps. Didn't go well.
It's amazing.
After about 5 turns.
Usually Friday night's a good night.
A turn, a spin, a throw. I don't even know what you call it. I don't like craps.
Roll.
Yeah, be too smart.
You call it a roll.
But either way, so he's, come on, you gotta come to this. And I was like, I got to get out of this tuxedo. I don't like this thing. And my wife's like, if we go to that room, it's over.
Yep.
She's like, I'm not changing clothes and going somewhere else.
Oh, boy.
Too much work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? She's right.
100%.
I'm not walking up 2 flights of stairs.
Absolutely.
Taking clothes off, putting new clothes on, then walking down those stairs to a vehicle, driving less than a mile, getting out after parking, and going to gamble. That's a lot. And I might have to hit the ATM too.
Oh,
don't know if I have enough cash left over from last night to actually go again. No.
Absolutely. That's the deal breaker there.
When the option is get in bed in 10 minutes, done.
You just made your choice.
Over.
Done, son. Good choice.
Billy was staying there, though, so he had the advantages.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, there was never a doubt that he was going to do
Just
that.
down them 2.5 flights of stairs.
Exactly.
Never a problem. Never a problem whatsoever.
White House did have an elevator, but it took a long time. Slow. About similar to some other places we know. All right, we got to get to a break. Gabe Eichert is going to talk Oklahoma and old man workouts next on Mac and Cube in the morning. So y'all decide if that's a radio safe conversation for another day. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's too personal. We'll make that decision at another time. Maybe Ryan Haney needs to be involved in that one. I don't know. But it's on the table. And
it's definitely a 9 o'clock hour conversation.
For sure. And we'll get to that in another 9 o'clock because in this 9 o'clock.
I don't know. There's no school right now. We might need to.
It's also fair. Also fair. That's that might be a September combo. Gabe Eichert's going to join us instead, and we're going to talk Oklahoma football and the expectation around this team and maybe some guys that are looking to surprise. Before that, Gabe, we were talking about workouts and getting old and different things that we now qualify as workouts because Greg is basically saying he's gotten to the point that he's given up. It doesn't matter anymore. Just as long as you're moving and outside, that it's probably going to count as a workout. Like I count kickball with my kids as a workout. It's physical activity. I got something in, and that's a qualifier for me. Where are you with the counting things that you never thought you would count as workouts or giving up on physical activity or doing things for workouts that you never thought were reasonable? Like walking. Greg says walking is now a workout, and he would have never allowed that before.
Correct.
I am the perfect man for this conversation, guys. I think if you sweat, it should be considered a workout at our age. I think as you get older, like you have to, life's hard enough with everything that a lot of people got to go through. You just got to find as many wins as you can in life. And yeah, walking my dogs last night after I put my kids to sleep, that is a workout for sure. So I am totally on Greg's team on that. But I also am the ultimate creature of habit and like one of the most routine-oriented people you will ever meet. And I have to get some form of exercise in 7 days a week or else I get a little weird. And I cannot endorse yoga and Pilates more for the men out there. It will change your life, gentlemen. Just give it a chance. I know some of you may be resistant. I'm just telling you.
No.
Give it a chance. It'll improve the back health, Greg. I'm just telling you, man. It's good. It's good stuff.
I'm not saying it's not a workout. I'm saying that our bodies are not meant to bend that way. I have done yoga, I have done Pilates, and it is remarkably more difficult for me than it is my wife who's half my size. It's not fair.
Correct.
And I don't like doing workouts with people half my size and half my strength and they're dominating me.
Yes.
I struggle with that.
Yes, they are, Greg. And it's funny you say that. When I was still playing in the NFL, there's a Pilates studio here in Oklahoma City that I would go to. I was, 308 pounds at the time.
Over.
And it was me and maybe over, depending on depending on the dinner the night before. But it was me and all professional ballet dancers. And they would just destroy me each and every time I went into that Pilates studio. Shout out to the Pilates body in Oklahoma City. But yeah, dude, that's just part of it. I have tailored, I can send them to you, Greg. I have tailored some yoga flows and Pilates workouts over the last couple of years that are, I would say, more man-friendly, if you will. I can get them your way, buddy. You can jump on the train. Don't worry. You can do it. I got faith in you, man.
I love it. I'm great with it.
All right, I'm going to shut this conversation down after this, but quick question. Do you believe in, I know you don't understand like the physical capabilities fully of Greg McElroy right now. Do you think he could go finish an Ironman triathlon today?
Not an Ironman.
No, see, you said Ironman.
No, I didn't. I said Olympic length.
Swimming, yes, is involved.
Yes.
To the tune of 25 miles.
Swimming, I think Greg can.
Whatever.
I think Greg can get the running / walking / jogging portion done. I know he can get the cycling portion done. Just ride the bike, Greg. You got it, buddy. The swimming's where I get concerned. I like to swim. Now that it's the summer, I've got a little bungee cord that I bought off Amazon for like $5 that I swim in place in my pool. Dude, swimming's exhausting.
Yes.
2.5 miles.
First of all, he's out of his mind. I said Olympic level, so it'd be 1 mile. It's a very big difference.
That changes things.
Or the
I think
sprint.
you can do it, man.
I don't know. I think I could do the sprint. I think I'd struggle at the Olympic level.
It's like asking if Oklahoma can go undefeated against this year, and you're talking about against a CUSA schedule. Like, yes, of course they could. Like, why, you're moving the goalposts. It's an Ironman. The original question was, would you rather win the CrossFit Games or the Ironman triathlon?
No,
and he's like, I could finish a triathlon today.
I could finish a triathlon. Very big difference in finishing the Ironman.
Yeah, huge one.
The Ironman takes a day. So, no.
Triathlon, I'm looking at the Ironman right now. 2.4-mile swim.
Yes. Yep.
112-mile bike ride and a marathon?
Yeah, it's insane.
What?
No one would ever admit that they could do that. Like, I would never claim that I could do that.
I might not have done that in my life.
How much would someone have to pay you to do that? Like
an unlimited amount. I would die.
I think my life, I guess you can't put a price tag of drowning during the 2.4-mile swim.
Yeah,
so.
and you're doing it in the ocean, by the way. That's in the ocean.
A black MX whose balance was just magically paid for every month is what it would take for me.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Cool.
Yeah, but here's the problem: I would never obtain it, so it doesn't matter. I physically couldn't do it. So
no.
Let's talk about what Oklahoma.
With that attitude,
no, you're right. And attitude would not help in that situation for me. Let's talk about what Oklahoma's physically going to be capable of this year. There are a few guys on defense I don't think people are talking about that could really help this group. We think the defense will be pretty good, even with the loss of a Danny Stutzman, a Billy Bowman. Obviously, you got a genius on that side of the ball that's going to take it back over and be coaching it again. But give us a couple names that maybe we need to be paying closer attention to on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, everyone knows our Mason Thomas now, or at least I think the majority of your, I know you guys have some diehard SEC listeners, and he was really, really good a season ago, and I think there's more there. I think that he can be one of the premier edge players in the SEC coming off. So that's just a name that some people don't know on the defensive side. That's a name they need to know. A guy that had a fantastic freshman year at corner for the Sooners is a kid named Eli Bowen. Now, a lot of people know Peyton Bowen, his brother, who was a 5-star recruit. He's battled kind of some bumps and bruises throughout his OU career and maybe hasn't played up to he has not played up to what he's capable of. I'm excited to see what he can be this year, but Eli Bowen was OU's best corner a season ago as a true freshman. And I expect him to be even better. Now, he was banged up during spring ball, didn't really go through spring at all with an ankle issue, but he should be fine. He's going through summer workouts right now. He should be just fine for the season. And he got thrown into the fire last year, boys, and he responded in a very positive way. So those are two guys. And then Kendall Dolby is a wild card for the Sooners. I thought he was arguably, before he had a gruesome ankle injury in the Tennessee game last year, I thought he was arguably OU's best player on defense. Just what he was doing. He was playing their nickel position, which they call the cheetah, and he can cover like a corner. He's got the mentality, though, of a backer, and he just plays with a ton of energy and emotion. And if he can come back as the same guy that he was a year ago, if he can recover fully from a very gruesome leg injury, then Kendall Dolby's a name to know. So there's three for you: R. Mason Thomas, Kendall Dolby, and Eli Bowen.
What about Danny Stutzman's replacement? I like Kip Lewis. I like Dolby a lot if he can come back, like you referenced. But Danny Stutzman's presence there at the second level was so impactful. He was an extension of Venables on the field. Now Venables is calling the plays, which I think is good. I'm excited about that possibility, but I'm also excited about some of the personnel that might be stepping up to replace Danny Stutzman. So do you think they can adequately replace him with 2 or 3 guys as opposed to that presence that was there all the time?
Yeah, Greg, it's a great question. Now, they've got guys stepping into that role that have played. Like Kobe McKenzie has played a lot of football. Kip Lewis has played a lot of football. Neither of those guys give you or have shown up to this point to be anywhere close to what Danny Stutzman is, not only as a player, but as a leader. That's the big question, right? He was the unquestioned leader, not only of the defense, but of the football team last season. And so it's not only replacing his production, it's replacing that vocal leadership. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys how important that is, not only throughout the season, but through an off season. One guy to know is Kendall Daniels, the transfer from Oklahoma State. Boys, if you walk out onto the practice field, you immediately see him and you go, that guy's got to be on the field for you. He looks like $1 million. He is the best looking player maybe on the entire football team. I mean, you're talking 6'4" and 240 pounds. I think they're going to play him at inside backer and at the nickel spot, depending on kind of some personnel stuff from the opponent. But those are the three main guys. And then the fourth guy is a guy named Samuel Omasigo, who he can really, really run, man. I mean, he can fly. He looks great. Maybe kind of a little undersized. But you guys know how the inside backer position has changed. But they don't have anyone, Greg, that you can say, oh, yeah, they're going to step in and fill in what Danny brought from a production standpoint. They just don't have that guy. But they do have several guys that have played a lot of football. So that's you're expecting a drop-off at that position, but I don't think it's going to be a massive drop-off.
Gabe Eichert played at Oklahoma, covers Oklahoma. You can see his podcast on YouTube. Check that out if you want to learn anything else about the Sooners. They do a great job over there. Speaking of things that are new, a lot's going to be new on offense, and there's a lot to be excited about. Just what is the thought? What are you hearing just about how everything is going with new quarterback, new OC, some new pieces around those there on that side of the ball for the Sooners?
Yeah, I was able to go out to several spring practices, and John Mateer is everything you want in a quarterback, man. He is. He's got the arm. He can run, and maybe most importantly, he came in and he has taken control of the offense and taken control of the football team. I mean, the guy, you come in as the big NIL guy as a transfer, and he did not shy away from stepping into the leadership role at all. They had high expectations for him, and I think he's exceeded every expectation that they had. Now, there's a lot of guys around him that have to step up and play at a high level for him to have the success that they want him to have, and for Oklahoma to have the type of season offensively that they want to have. But Mateer is they're feeling very good about the Mateer acquisition, and that if you got a good quarterback, you got a chance. But looking at the team overall, Cole, I think Oklahoma's offensive line will determine the ceiling of the football team. They had, frankly, guys that probably shouldn't have been playing a year ago, that they had to play because of injuries. They got some valuable experience, but also, they got beat a lot, right? They're young guys out there playing as redshirt freshmen, and all of those guys are back. So I expect OU's offensive line to be much improved. I think there's going to be competition across the board in training camp, which I believe will elevate the play of the group as a whole. And then the two names to know, Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje are both true freshmen that were in early in the spring. They both have a chance to be the best offensive linemen at their position that Bill Bedenbaugh has coached at Oklahoma. They've got the goods, man. And I don't know if they're going to start. Fasusi's playing left tackle. Foje's playing right guard. I don't know if they're going to start, boys, but they're going to play a significant role in this football team in 2025. I told Bingbo this: if Masusi's not a top 10 pick, we've all failed him, because he is as talented of a young offensive lineman as I've seen in my lifetime at Oklahoma. And I played with Trent Williams. So he is the expectations for these two young men. I hate to put it on them like that, but they have a chance to be very, very special.
Gabe, we appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Can't wait to talk about it as it gets closer, and appreciate you joining us today.
Cole, you're the most popular man in the state of Oklahoma right now with those defensive line rankings you put out. So I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for helping the content machine here in the state.
Well, you can reverse it and go look at PFF's rankings if you want. So enjoy that. Take care, Gabe.
Boys, appreciate you guys.
See you, bud.
Gabe Eicher joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. We'll follow that up and give you sort of a one-team bad box score of the day next. Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you hanging with us. If you missed Dave Waters, Kendall Rogers, Gabe Eichert, then you can go check us out at the podcast, jocksfm.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get yours. and check them out there. Quickly want to go to a couple of things that Greg Sankey had to say yesterday. Next segment, we'll get to our bad box score of the day focused around one individual team. On the Dan Patrick Show, Greg Sankey had this to say about things that need to be addressed in terms of scheduling for the college football playoff.
So point one is, whether people agree or not, I think the first issue that has to be addressed is the selection criteria incentivizing playing these highly competitive, highly desired games, whether that's non-conference or conference. That's one. The second is, I think conferences coming together to facilitate this scheduling is important. And I'll just take ourselves. We facilitate 4 end-of-year non-conference games last week of the season. We've had schools actually leave our league and come back, and we facilitated those games when they've wanted to play. So I think from my perspective, I'm happy for a coordinated conversation to try to get scheduling right. But I do think you have to go back to, at the forefront of everyone's mind is how decisions about the postseason are going to be made. And Dan, that's a point I've made more subtly than of late and more directly in the most recent comments, because I do think that leads the agenda of what must be addressed in college football scheduling, is how this postseason selection guides people's thinking.
Also, Greg Sankey on the Dan Patrick Show, Greg, says which playoff format he prefers.
Well, I've been one who said over time, I'd give no allocation. So this whole 5-7 thing that exists now, I just make it the 12 best teams. And I was clear on that. Now, when we get into rooms, we make political compromises, if you will, small p, not like Congress political compromises, but to achieve an outcome.
So he says that no automatic qualifiers is what he's been on board with.
Which I think is, at this point, a little bit more about the leverage that he's trying to create. If he all of a sudden were to say, yeah, no, we support automatic qualifiers, then that would also at the same time encourage the likelihood of him accepting and acknowledging the need for a 9-game conference schedule. So I think they go hand in hand. I think this is a complete leverage play for sure. Right now, they're currently at 8-game conference schedules, so he is absolutely 100% in favor of the 5+12. Rightfully so. They have 8 conference games. But if their presidents decide to adopt a 9-game conference schedule, I would think that in that scenario, he'd be more supportive of an automatic qualifier format. So I think it's purely dependent on what the presidents ultimately decide with how they want to structure their conference schedule.
Okay. And finally, Greg Sankey on why he thinks other playoff ideas have been introduced.
We spent so much time expanding and working through our own little side arguments about teams and, oh, we can't do this, we need this, you got to protect this bowl game or that bowl game. We never went back to the essence of decision making, which is how are teams selected. As everyone relocated over the last 4 or 5 years, do the analyses that existed and worked for the 14 playoff in 2014 still have the same relevance? And we're behind that curve, in my opinion. That's why other ideas are introduced and considered. And we've looked at ideas, this allocation of, it's called automatic bids. That's such a harsh term. I think allocations is one where I like that word, because we already allocated. And look at last year. We had 2 teams not in the top 4 that get to move up because of the political compromise. We have a team outside the 12 that moves in, and then the teams that are displaced look around and say, hey, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense any longer. That introduces the questions around, should that model continue, or should that allocation model expand where other teams are brought in?
So that's Greg Sankey on the playoff structure, what he wants, what he thinks should happen on the Dan Patrick Show. Interesting thoughts there. We'll share our comments on those and get to a bad box score of the day next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We will get to a singular bad box score of the day here in just a moment. You'll have to wait for that. But first, Craig, one thing you never have to wait for is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of to the urgent care office, where you can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you. They can get you in on Fridays and Saturdays. Patients of all ages are accepted, and most insurance plans are accepted too. So go see them in Hoover, Homewood, Alabaster, Fultondale, and now open and Trustful. It's Family Care Dental, 874-9605. That's 874-9605.
We talked some college baseball today. You guys know what LSU Shreveport goes by? The
Dominion.
No idea.
Aggies.
Land Sharks.
Pilots. Do you know what they finished up the season as? National champions won, but record-wise,
Undefeated.
They were 50-something and 0, right?
59-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
In one series over the college baseball season against the Texas College.
They're the Bearcats.
No, they're not. In
Texas.
They're not.
Frontiersmen.
Close.
Frontierswomen?
Wranglers.
Steers.
Oh. They do have it in Texas. Okay.
In a 3-game set, 42-4, 37-0, 15-0.
Last one was
They
close.
took it easy on them.
It wasn't close. 15-0. That's not close.
Yeah, but they just
compared to 42-4 and 37-0. It's closer, but it's
they
not,
had more
it's
arms.
not close. No. Here are their numbers for the season after 14 shutouts of
Okay.
their 59 games. 666 runs. They allowed 142. 656 hits. They allowed 315. They hit 76 home runs. They allowed 18. 248 extra base hits. They hit 361 as a team over 59 games. They slugged .601. Their on-base percentage was .493. Now, they did strike out 325 times.
There you go.
Okay.
They struck out opponents 541.
Almost a double up.
Their opponents batting average over 59 games, 192.
Wow. They got a good staff.
Absolutely.
You think?
I think that's a good staff.
God almighty.
Bunch of power arms.
Out-hit opponents 656 to 315.
That's a double up.
But what would they do in GBBA?
Depends on the bat.
It does.
Depends on
Is
the
the
bat.
Black Pearl allowed?
Yes.
They'd probably be better than this. Definitely would outscore their opponents more than 656 to 315.
Unreal.
In the run department.
Crazy.
So basically, the Pilots were a living, breathing bad box score of the day the entire baseball season.
Correct.
3-man front is next.